Once upon a time, on a sad Valentine, in a place known as Mine, a legend began. Every woman and man would always remember the time, and those who remained were never the same. You could see the fear in their eyes. Once every year, as the 14th draws near, there's a hush all over the town. For the legend, they say, on a Valentine's Day is a curse that'll live on and on, and no one will know as the years come and go of the horror from long time ago. "20 years came and went, and everyone spent the 14th in quiet regret. And those still alive know the secret survives in the darkness that looms in the night. For the legend, they say, on a Valentine's Day is a curse that'll live on, and no one will know as the years come and go of the horror from long time ago. In this little town, when the 14th comes round, there's a silence and fear in the air. Remember the morn that the legend was born, all the shock and the horror was there. For the legend, they say, on a Valentine's Day is a curse that'll live on, and no one will know as the years come and go of the horror from long time ago. And no one will know as the years come and go of the horror from long time ago.
Hey everybody, a little bit of a different intro to my stream. Bet you guys were just waiting for the October Blood soundtrack to, or a song from October Blood, Rainbow Eyes, to start up, because that's usually how my streams start. But I wanted to do something a little bit different since it is February the 1st. And I thought I'd kick it off right and do the Ballad of Harry Warden as my intro to this surprise stream. I didn't even know I was going to do it. I just kind of got the idea about the midways to the day, and also got a bee in my bonnet about having some Moosehead. This is actually Canadian beer. Moosehead, as you know, is featured very prominently on the film My Bloody Valentine. I really wanted to get some last year. I was not able to because I made the mistake of waiting one to the last minute to try to get it. And so I was kind of restricted to where I could go. And Steve stopped me by the Liquor Barn Express, which is a small liquor store. Hey, Texas. A small liquor store here in Louisville. There are liquor barns, the full-size liquor barns, which I've been to as well. But this was a Liquor Barn Express, so I went in there and I didn't see it. You know, I looked at all the beers that they had. I could not find Moosehead. So a guy came around and he asked if he could help me and Steve find something. And I said, well, do you have any Moosehead? And he was like, oh, well, I don't know. And he checked around and he said, no, I don't think we've ever had any Canadian liquor or Canadian beer in here. And he kind of sounded like that was not a thing that the liquor stores in Louisville had. But upon doing some research, I did find out that Total Wine and More here in Louisville does have Moosehead. And so I took a chance, had it delivered. That way, Steve doesn't have to worry about taking me by someplace to pick up some Moosehead. Um, and Steve doesn't drink beer now. He used to be a beer drinker, but he's not now. And I only occasionally drink beer, and there's not a lot of beers that I like. Most beers I don't like. Okay. Um, this is okay. Moosehead is okay. As you can see, I've been drinking a little bit of it before I got on the stream. To me, it kind of tastes like Rolling Rock. To be honest, it's got kind of that citrusy taste to it. So it's okay. I mean, it's not like I have my favorites as far as alcoholic drinks. I like my Fireball whiskey. I like, watermelon margaritas. There's screwdrivers. There's different things, usually mixed drink type of things is what I like. Usually I'm not going to drink beer, but in honor of the impending holiday and the big Canadian horror Valentine's Day classic, My Bloody Valentine, and in honor of several people that we've lost from that movie. Paul Kelman, most recently, Alf Humphreys, Keith Knight. I think the writer of the film has passed away as well. Um, so, um, in honor of all of those things, even though I'm not going to be talking about My Bloody Valentine tonight, this is an extra credit portion where I'm going to talk about movies that you might have not thought about watching on Valentine's Day, but maybe after I do this stream, maybe you'll want to or consider them adding them to your watch list. So, um, this isn't also this is not heavy on the alcohol, so I'm probably just going to drink just one during this stream. I did get some Bailey's Irish cream too. That is not a Canadian thing, obviously it's an Irish thing, but I do love Bailey's Irish cream, so I thought, what the hey, I'll get me some of that as well. And also to have with my Moosehead, I just saw these. Total Wine and More had these Pop Daddy pretzels. These are dill pickle pretzel sticks. Try to say that 5 times fast. Um, and I did notice after I got them, it says made with big heart. And I was like, well, that kind of goes along with my Valentine's Day thing. These are made in Michigan too, if you did not know. And they are pretty good. They have different flavors of this brand of pretzel sticks. I think hot mustard. I'm not sure of some of the others, but I did see hot mustard on there. But hey, 71. I was so busy blabbing about things that I didn't even notice. But I'm just wondering, out of the two of you that are in here right now, I don't know how many we'll have. Have either of you drank Moosehead or tried Moosehead? Like I said, I'm not. This is not an alcohol that I'm going to be drinking all the time. But for the impending holiday season, um, in honor of, like I said, Paul Kelman and some of the others that have passed that were in the great My Bloody Valentine, as well as Canadian horror in general. I thought I would give this one a go. Steve said he's actually had Moosehead a long, long time ago, but he didn't remember what it tastes like. Oh, yeah, that's right, 71. You say, nope, I don't do alcohol, but it likes to taunt me, LOL. Well, I hope you don't consider me showing this on camera as taunting, because I don't want to taunt you. 71, you say you used to drink ice beers to get wasted quick. I'm going to ask Steve about that. I don't think Steve's intention in the past was to get wasted, but I think that he did end up getting wasted from time to time. Texas, you say, no, not really a beer fan, but I don't really drink anymore either. Yeah, a lot of people in the circles that I hang out with, a lot of them say they don't drink a lot anymore. And I hope people don't think I'm an alcoholic or anything, because you do see me drinking on these streams from time to time. I do not, I definitely don't consider myself an alcoholic. I have messed up a few times in the past and made myself sick. But I don't want to do that over and over again. And 71, you say, oh no, I consider taunting my drinking night terrors. Right. So I was hoping too, though, that I would be able to tolerate this moose head after buying it, because it was like $9 for 6 bottles. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to need to drink these, because I don't think I'm going to be able to offload them on anybody. And 71, you say, oh, I would if it didn't screw up my daily life. Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm drinking a little bit more this week because I'm not working. When I'm working, I try to be really careful about it, even drinking at night, because I don't want to drink too much and then end up, feeling crappy the next day when I'm trying to work. So, again, I don't know how many we'll have in here at any point in time while I'm talking about these 10 movies that I've just really casually pull off my shelf. 71, you say, oh, I don't drink like normal people. It's an 8-hour tour when I did. Yeah, I have friends that I don't know if they do this anymore. But when we were really heavy into doing the conventions, we don't go to as many anymore, and said friends don't go to as many as of the same ones. And I'm not talking about CK and UB. I'm talking about some of the other friends from those circles. Hey, Blissful. I don't see them often like I used to several years ago. And so, I had some people that would tell me that they would get to a convention, put their keys up, and start drinking. And then they just, they would literally stay at the hotel or whatever, wherever the convention was, and not, they would do it safely. They they might get sick and they might get hungover, but at least they weren't out drinking and driving, or putting themselves or anyone else in danger. Texas, you say, did you see the new Vinegar Syndrome releases for the month? And I'm interested in Devonsville Terror. I have not seen those. I need to take a look at them. I think I would probably be interested in Devonsville Terror. I always have liked that one. So I had another friend that he would start drinking from the time he got to the convention, and then by nightfall he was pretty much 3 sheets to the wind. So I don't know how that can be. And some people just casually drink beers all day long, and they don't They don't really get drunk. They just sit around watching TV, um, watching sports or something, and just casually drinking one beer after the other. I don't really want to do that either. Like I said, I'm not a big beer drinker. I'm just doing this for a special occasion. And one tonight is, I would imagine, excuse me, is all I can do. So, um, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started with the movies that I've got here. And like I said, hopefully this will encourage some other people to maybe add some additional movies to their Valentine's Day horror watching. And some of these, you guys may think I'm totally off base with these by saying that I consider them Valentine's Day type films because they don't take place on Valentine's Day, like the traditional ones of My Bloody Valentine, the movie Valentine, um, even X-Ray, which I talked about some of those last year, so I didn't want to retread the same ground that I did last year. So I thought I would do something a little bit different. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Uh, oh, I knew 71 that you're not saying that I have a problem. You say you have a problem with anything. I mean, there are some things that um I feel like I do have a problem with, namely these caffeine filled zero sugar Mountain Dews that I wish that I could get totally off of, but haven't really been able to. But some of these movies are going to have to do with like twisted relationships, stalking like issues, love gone wrong, just all kinds of different things that I felt like that you could tie in with Valentine's Day. So the first one, you guys may think this is a little bit of an odd, strange choice, but that's Blood Harvest. Yes, the Blood Harvest with Tiny Tim in clown makeup, acting extra bizarro. Uh, so, um, give you a little bit of a plot synopsis. This is a movie that I have talked about before, so I'm not going to go real deep into the plot synopsis. This is a Vinegar Syndrome release. This was put out many years ago uh, by Retro Media on DVD, and then it was pulled. It was yanked. By that time, I already had my copy. So when this came out on Blu-ray, I wanted to make sure that I got this from Vinegar Syndrome. And by the way, Retro Media is Fred Olen Ray's company. When you say you've already been stalked this week, ooh, that's kind of creepy. So Jill, the main character, has just returned home from college to the rural farm community where she grew up, only to discover that her parents have mysteriously vanished. Learning that her father, a banker, has become the local pariah for overseeing land foreclosures on local farmers, Jill quickly becomes the victim of a series of strange and increasingly depraved assaults. With only her childhood friend and former lover, Gary, and his mentally unstable brother, Mervo, which is Tiny Tim's character, willing to believe her, Jill begins to fear for her life. All the while, a stalking mass killer is abducting, torturing, and brutally killing those closest to Jill. Okay. Um, Yes, Texas Blood Harvest is really out there. And I know the first time I saw it, I was like, "What in the hell?" Um, and it's the only horror film I know that has Tiny Tim in it. So when you say you have to watch it, so when you say, "Oh, I got one that wants to have a date on Saturday," haha, I think I'm going to tell him that I'm going to look for dog men. Anything you gotta do to get you out of those situations, 71. So yes, as Texas said, Blood Harvest is really out there. But it is one that I have always, always, always enjoyed. I think Tiny Tim is perfect. And he's perfect in the role as Mervo or Merv or Mervin, whatever you want to call him, or the marvelous Mervo. And I couldn't imagine anybody else in that role. And obviously, by the cover of this thing, you're supposed to think more than likely that Merv is the one that's killing people. Because there are some shots that make it look like he could possibly be the killer. But, little spoiler, guys. So, for those of you that haven't seen Blood Harvest and don't want to know a few of these details that I'm going to bring up, including who the killer actually turns out to be. And the reason why I'm doing this is because this will show you how I'm tying it into a Valentine's Day horror watch list. Okay. So if you have not seen this and do not want to know who the killer is, then you might want to walk out of the room, plug your ears, put on some headphones, play some really loud rock music or something, so I do not give this away for you. Okay. So when you say it's always the one that acts normal that is the biggest psycho. Yes, yes. And you are exactly right. And most people will probably know what I'm going to say before I say it about who the killer is in this. Okay. So it's obviously not Merv. Even though Merv is off the wall, bizarre, he's harmless. Okay. So the killer turned out to be, now again, I hope those of you that don't want to know have stepped out of the room. Okay, I'll wait a few more seconds. So the killer turns out to be Gary, who is Jill's, like the plot synopsis said, her childhood friend and her former lover. Okay, and he is pretty much obsessed with Jill. He has a shrine to her. There are several scenes where he knocks her out, I guess, with chloroform and undresses her and takes pictures of her and is kind of making, like I said, a shrine, a collage. And anybody that he sees as trying to come in between him and Jill gets killed pretty spectacularly. People are hung upside down and their throats slit. They're basically, slaughtered like farm animals in a slaughterhouse. But so this is why I needed to tell you who the killer was. This is what, for me, justifies me putting it on a Valentine's Day watch list, because it's a horror movie. It has to do with a twisted relationship that Gary is so insane that he thinks that he can still have a relationship with Jill. Even though Jill has another boyfriend, he thinks if he gets rid of all of these people, her best friend, her parents, her boyfriend, just all of those people, and if he can keep Merv from telling her anything, even going so far as to kill his own brother if he needs to not break apart this um, obviously imaginary relationship that he thinks that he has with Jill now. So when you say it looks like a gore fest, I don't know if I would call it a gore fest, but it does have some pretty good kills in it. You say you have to see that tonight. So when you say, haha, I have a shrine for Ginger. Well, nothing wrong with that. So anyway, that is Blood Harvest. You may still be able to pick this up from Vinegar Syndrome. This particular release, and by the way, this is a film that came out in 1986, by the way. So this newly scanned and restored in 4K from its 16 millimeter original camera negative. Again, don't expect this thing to look amazing. Because it's just not. It's just not. It's really low budget. There's brand new commentary track with producer and co-writer Leszek Burinsky. Every critic is going to butcher it. An archival interview with Tiny Tim on Blood Harvest, which is actually really interesting. Tiny Tim performance and raw interview footage from Niagara Falls, September 3rd, 1987, which is also interesting. Definitely from a historical standpoint. Booklet with essay by Tiny Tim biographer Justin A. Martell. And yes, he does have Tiny Tim did have a biographer. There's also reversible cover artwork, which I'll be glad to show you. But I never really much cared for this artwork. I prefer the Marvelous Mervo artwork a lot better. So there is Blood Harvest, guys. I'm going to take another sip of Moosehead here. Hey, John. Yeah, 71. Tiny Tim does look very cool in the movie. And again, I couldn't imagine anybody else playing the character of Merv in the film. John, you say, I need to watch Blood Harvest. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I would encourage anybody to watch this one. You've been on a found footage kick lately with the Bad Ben series. Cool. Oh, and Hell House. Yeah. Yeah. I watched, my favorite was that first one in the Hell House series. That was really, really good. And I'm chasing this moose head with some Mountain Dew, which actually is not bad. Johnny said, I'm a sucker for punishment, but Tubi has tons of bad movies. They do, but they also have tons of good movies as well. So you can kind of mix and mash them up a little bit. Texas, you say at 71, he's not acting. 71, you say I could make a movie equal to that. Oh, probably a lot of us could. 71, you say, wait a second. Sorry about that. I meant to click on this other one. John, you say, yeah, Bad Ben is like George Costanza's got a haunted house. It's ridiculous. Cool. I might need to check that out. So, moving along to the next film I have in my stack, which is, and then this one, you probably saw the flash of it there, Candyman. Now you might be thinking, why in the heck, Dana, have you got this in the list of Valentine's Day horror? Okay, here's why. So I'm going to give you like a little bit of plot synopsis, and then I'm going to get into more detail here. Okay. So this gut-wrenching thriller follows a graduate student whose research summons the spirit of the dead. When Helen Lyle hears about Candyman, a slave spirit with a hooked hand who is said to haunt a notorious housing project, she thinks she has a new twist for her thesis. Braving the gang-ridden territory to visit the site, Helen arrogantly assumes Candyman can't really exist until he appears, igniting a string of terrifying grisly slayings. But the police don't believe in monsters and charge Helen with the crimes. And the only one who can set her free is Candyman. Okay. So, why did I pick this one for a potential, to put on a potential watch list for Valentine's Day? Here's why. Because there's a love story in this one. Believe it or not, there is a love story. No matter how twisted it appears in the movie, there is a love story. And actually, there are multiple love stories because there's the love story with Helen and her husband, who's a college professor. But Helen's husband doesn't really seem to care about her the way she cares about him. And he's got eyes for some little chickie that is in his class. So once Helen gets embroiled in the whole Candyman urban legend, okay, and then the urban legend becomes real, and so then we have a separate love story. Well, actually, we have a couple more love stories. The when the legend of Candyman is told, when it's expanded on a little bit, they talk about Candyman's being in love with, I believe he was in love with a white woman. And that didn't go over well with many people, okay, during the time period this was. But he was hired to paint this woman that he fell in love with, who we come to know the woman looks a lot like Helen. So when the father of this girl finds out that he's smitten, that Candyman is smitten with his daughter, he basically has these guys go out and cut Candyman's hand off. That's why he's got a hook for one of his hands. And they do other really terrible things like covering him with honey, and the bees come. And so the legend of Candyman was born. So there was the love story between a couple that could never be. No one would let them be. And then there's the love story between Candyman and Helen that be- becomes a byproduct of her saying the Candyman name 5 times in a row. Okay. So, Candyman keeps telling Helen how much he cares about her, he loves her, he wants her to be his victim. And if she will not be his victim, then he will take somebody else. And he always leaves things in a situation where it looks like Helen has murdered people. Therefore, Helen ends up in a mental hospital. Then her husband sees oh, I've got my freedom. I can go get that little chickie from my class, and I can move her in, and we'll just forget about Helen. Okay, so there's a really, albeit twisted, but there are multiple love stories and love triangles in this film. And again, people may disagree with me on how I perceive this movie. And feel free to disagree with me. I do not mind at all. I always love a good, healthy debate. But I just feel like this one would be another one that you could add to your Valentine's Day watch list, if you're looking for horror ones. John, you said Candyman 1992 is pretty good. I never paid much attention to it besides watching it at my granny's once. I guess it has a cult following now in the remake. 71, you said Candyman was great. Hey, Dirk. You say, hey, Dana and everyone. My pick for Valentine's Day horror is Old Nasty Cannibal Man. Now, that's an interesting one, Dirk. I like that. John, you say, I didn't see the remake, but I could tell it probably ain't as good as the original. Maybe I'm wrong. Didn't look great. I saw the very beginning of it, and when they were playing that old Candyman song, I was like, what in the hell? And Steve was watching it at the time, so I didn't even bother, even sitting down and watching it. I think I'm probably going to stay away from that one. John, you say, I think it's fair to say it's a love story, way more than whatever wacky shit people insinuate with Halloween ends being a love story with Laurie and Michael. Yeah, definitely, John. So that's Candyman. This is the 4K that Scream Factory put out, and it does, if you have the ways and means to watch it on 4K and you've been thinking about getting Candyman, then I say go for it. If you hadn't been thinking about getting it, but think you might want to watch it, I would see if I could find it, in a for free version. Like I always say there. Gonna take another sip of my moose head here. And again, I am planning on drinking another moose head when I do the My Bloody Valentine watch along. And actually, and I think I'll throw this out here to you guys. There's 6 or 7 of you guys in here. Not all of you are chatting, I realize that, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Last year I did a Paul Kelman tribute. Not too many people attended that one, but what I was thinking about doing this year, and it just came to me all of a sudden, is I would like to do a tribute for the 3 guys that have passed away over the years. Like I said, Paul Kelman being the most recent one. From My Bloody Valentine, I just like to give a tribute to 3 of the big players in this movie, and that would be, of course, Paul Kelman, Keith Knight, and Alf Humphreys. And I just wanted to know what you guys would think about me doing a tribute to those 3 guys. Maybe talk, last year when I did the Paul Kelman one, I basically talked about other movies that he was in. I could kind of do the same thing, only have additional movies, or I could just, do a big blowout bonanza on My Bloody Valentine and talk about the contributions that each one of those guys made to the movie. I could do that. And just, maybe talk in passing about some of the other films that both Keith Knight and Alf Humphreys were in. I would really like to do that. I just do a really warm tribute to all three of those guys. Durkee said Candyman was great in the theater. A memory I'll never forget. Tony Todd's voice in the cinema was awesome. I'll bet. I mean, it's pretty decent if you listen to it, in surround sound at home. But yeah, I wish to goodness I had been able to watch it in the theaters. John, you say, I love the goofy music when they're driving to the bar from the mines. Exactly. Well, Dirks it looks like he's up for it. For sure, Dana, I was thinking about doing a trip to Deodato as well. Yeah, Deodato would be good. John, you say, considering the crap that got sequels, it's surprising My Bloody Valentine never got one. Interesting thing about that, I was rewatching that 35th anniversary panel that they had in Tampa. I think it was like the Bloody Bay convention or something like that. And there were several people, including George Mahalka, the director, that were on this panel. And basically, George Mahalka said that there were several reasons why My Bloody Valentine didn't get a sequel within close proximity of the original. And it was for several reasons. The producers went on to do other things. Paramount, the fiasco with having to cut so much stuff from the original My Bloody Valentine. We all know we didn't get to see that stuff for many, many years. Paramount didn't want to go through that again. And the writer passed away sometime between completing the writing of the film and the film coming out, or shortly after the film came out. I think those were the three big reasons that George Mahalka gave. But at that point in time, during the 35th anniversary panel, he did say that they wanted to do one now, or at that time, and wanted to get, the surviving members of the cast, the ones that survived from the original movie and are still living, I guess, by now. See, at that point in time, Paul Kelman was still living. Alf Humphreys was still alive, even though his character died in the film. Durkee said, I'm glad it didn't, though, John. Love my standalone slashers. Uncle Bill, you say, let me in here, Danger. Do you want to come on live with me, or you just saying, well, let you in here to talk? Just let me know. I'll put the link up if you want to. Johnny say, no doubt, Dirk, the standalones are often the best. So while I'm waiting for Uncle Bill to answer me, I'm going to move on to the next film, which, again, you guys might think this is a weird ass choice. Oh, okay. Uncle Bill says, yeah, fuck it. Why not? All right. Well, you got it, buddy. I hope you got some movies to talk about. So I'm going to put this. I'm going to put this link in there for you, Uncle Bill. I'm going to take another So you guys are probably going to get a bonus now because Uncle Bill's going to be in here, if, as long as he doesn't have any technical difficulty. But while I'm waiting for Uncle Bill, I'm going to go on and announce the next one I'm going to talk about, which is Christine. And again, you guys might be thinking, not Skinamarink. Dirk, did you see my review that I did on that? So anyway, back to Christine. This is a movie that does. Hey, well, there's Uncle Bill down there. Let's see. Let's add Uncle Bill, shall we? Hey, Uncle Bill.
Oh, Daddy. What are you doing, Dana?
What the heck? I'm drinking Moosehead, and I'm talking about possible movies you could have for a Valentine's Day bonanza of horror, but they're not ones that people usually pick or ones that people usually think of when they think Valentine's Day horror.
All right. So here's the thing. You continue your list, and I'll just comment on it. And if I think of any others that I would add in there, then I will. Okay.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So, as I was saying, I'm talking about Christine now, and some people might say, "Well, why the hell have you got Christine in this list?" Because once again, there is a love story. There's a love triangle, actually, with multiple people. It's kind of like a love square more than a love triangle, because you have the character of Arnie, you have the character of his best friend Dennis, you have the character of Lee Cabot, who's the woman that kind of just busts into the boys' relationship, and then you have the car. You have Christine, who we can consider another girl. So we don't have a love triangle. We have a love square, if that's
I see where you're going with this, Dana. So it's like these are movies where there's some sort of like romantic element in the movie somewhere.
Yeah, pretty much. But usually, as with most horror movies, things get a little twisted and bent, broke off.
Yeah, I hate it when it gets bent and broke off. That's the worst right there.
But thankfully, I'm not covering I Spit on Your Grave, because we were.
Yeah, it gets bent and broke off. And Last House on the Left too.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't think I need to go into deep detail on the plot of Christine. It's based on a Stephen King book. I don't know how many of you have read the Stephen King novel. Uncle Bill, have you read the Stephen King novel?
Oh yeah, I read most of his stuff when I was in high school and college.
Yeah, see, Uncle Bill's kind of like me. I started really getting into Stephen King when I was in high school. That's when the floodgates opened as far as Stephen King. Now, I had seen some movies that were based on his books that I didn't get to read until later on. But, things like Misery, I remember because I read the book Misery before I seen the movie. And guys, I know I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I love Stephen King. I love his work. I know Uncle Bill does, definitely, because I was remembering he went to that the talk that Stephen King gave, and
oh yeah, that was awesome.
That horrendous thunderstorm.
Yeah,
I was like,
it was kind of perfect, really. I mean, because he came out, he talked for about like an hour or something. Then that thunderstorm started to come up. So by the time that had come up, he was almost done anyway, and it was kind of a perfect ending to a talk by Stephen King.
Yeah,
and then I never will forget this either. They had like huge stacks of his books up on the auditorium, and like some of them were signed, and some of them were just like regular books.
Right.
And at the end of it, they let you walk up there and like get a book, and just if you got lucky, you got a signed one. I didn't. Neither one of us got a signed one. Me or Savannah.
Yeah, I didn't get a signed one either. And I don't even know if Steve went up there and got one. He's he's a party pooper. You know, he was like, I
Why
don't
would you not go up there? It was literally like on the way out. You were just like walking across the stuff.
maybe he did. Maybe I'm wrong, but he didn't keep it in any event. Neither one of us got a signed copy either. And I think he gave it to our neighbor who likes to read a lot of Stephen King books. So anyways, he didn't really care about the when we went to that Bruce Campbell thing where Bruce
Oh,
Campbell
yeah.
was touring around, and it was really for his books, but he was doing that game show type of thing where he would have people come up and they would do things for prizes, and it was kind of like a trivia kind of thing, which was fun. But Steve was like, I don't know why you dragged me to this stuff. You know, the same thing with the Stephen King thing. It's like, I totally have no interest in doing this, but I'm doing it for you. So I think both you and Savannah, though, Uncle Bill, I think y'all both like Stephen King, right?
I think she may like him more than I do. I mean, I like him, but I mean, she also read a lot of his books and stuff too, and I think she might have a deeper understanding of that than I do.
See, I need to get her on here sometime. You need to talk her into getting on here.
Shit, Dana, I've tried to talk her into getting on anything. She won't do it.
Oh, is
I would,
she that shy?
yeah, I would love for her to do anything like this, but she just won't do it.
Well, tell her that Dana wants her to come on, and you know, if she would she feel more comfortable if she wasn't on camera, if she was just talking, or does
Maybe I don't know. She always, I hate to say this, but it's true. She always like freezes up, like if there's like
gets nervous?
yeah. So I feel like she'd get on there and like maybe say one or two things, and then she just kind of freeze up.
Well, you know, I used to be like that. I mean, I used to be. There is no way, like many, many moons ago, I would have gotten on video and be sitting here talking with people chatting, or even like have you or CK or anybody on there with me. I'd be scared shitless. I wouldn't want to do that. But now I just don't even pay any attention anymore. The more you do it,
Yeah, it just
scared of it.
you just don't care anymore, really. At some point,
I don't know. I get on here and I'll take off my hat or something, and my hair's like boo, and I'll be like, oh, excuse my hair, and just throw the hat back on, just go on.
yeah.
It's like you just don't care anymore. So anyway, back to Christine. As I said, there is a love story at the heart of this, but it's a very twisted love story because it's also about obsession.
Oh yeah.
Because Arnie gets obsessed with Christine, and the car gets obsessed with him. And the book's a little bit different in the presentation because I'm not sure how much Uncle Bill remembers about the book, the difference between the book and the movie. But when John Carpenter, the way he presented it, there was that little thing where Arnie seemed to be possessed by the ghost of the man that owned the car before.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was opened as wide as it was in the book.
Yeah. In the movie, it's just kind of like they never really bring that part up. It's just kind of implied that something has taken over him. But in the book, you get like a much more kind of detail about what exactly that is, like the spirit and all that, and it's fleshed out a lot. I guess you can't really do that in a movie that's like 90 minutes, so go through all that stuff.
No, and that's probably why Carpenter decided to trim it up a little bit and kind of leave the whole possession thing open to interpretation. But I just want to talk. I've talked about Keith Gordon before.
Oh
That
yeah.
guy is an amazing actor. You cannot change my mind on that because if you look at the transition, he starts out, the character of Arnie starts out as a really nerdy guy who anybody and everybody can pick on him. And there are bullies that bully him. And if it wasn't for his friend Dennis, the football player, he probably might have gotten killed, because these guys are some rough characters. Buddy Repperton and his gang, they're not
Yeah.
messing around. But I never could understand why. I like Stu Charno. I like that guy, and I've liked him in a lot of movies. But why in the hell was he with the bullies?
I don't know because he's like the nerdiest guy there, really, and he's always the nerd in every other movie too. Like it doesn't matter what it is.
Exactly.
For reference, for Stu Charno, like he's in Friday 13th Part 2. He's in what's the one where the chick goes into the high school and she's trying to be a guy, just one of the guys.
Just one of the guys.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that movie, but Stu Charno is like he's kind of an endearing character, but my gosh, he's got all the reptiles that he
Yeah, that's his gimmick in the whole movie. Is he just carries around like lizards and stuff? Yeah,
and when she's she's dressed as a guy and stuff, and she's went to this high school, and she's she wants to find a place where she can get away from the guys that are making fun of her because they think she's a guy and they think she's some just wimpy ass guy and they're gonna pick on him. So she's at lunch, and what always happens to the outcasts at lunch? They kind of group together at their own table.
yeah.
So she goes and she's sitting with Stu Charno, and he's like, I'm getting ready to feed Snowball, and he's got the little white mouse that he's talking to, saying, it's okay. Everything has to eat something else. And she thinks when he says Snowball, he's talking about that little white mouse. No, he's talking about a big old snake
Yep.
that he's gonna feed that white mouse to Snowball. And
Have
she's
you-
like, holy crap.
Speaking of that movie, though, have you noticed every movie in the 80s had to have a scene where, like, you're in a cafeteria and the bully comes up and, like, either dumps your food on you or, like, smears food on you or something like that? Like, that was a classic 80s scene right there.
That was a staple of them. I
Yeah.
mean, it happened in Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
Mark Prince's character gets well, actually he dumps a tray of food on like spaghetti on the bully, but near the beginning you see him like going to drink his milk, and the guys have punched a hole in it and it runs all over the front of his shirt.
Yep.
And I could have a whole other thing talking about how much I love Mark Price, and people think of Mark Price. When they think of Mark Price, they think of Skippy from Family Ties, the nerdiest guy ever. And then to watch him in Trick or Treat and see that he's like this heavy metal guy is just a trip.
I love that movie, though. That's got to be like one of my favorite, like, horror. I don't know what kind of crossover, like rock and roll horror movie, I guess you'd call it, or something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the cameos with Ozzy and Gene Simmons and everything, and just the idea behind it is great.
Did you know that the guy, speaking of that movie, I know we're getting off on all kinds of tangents, but I just love when I have somebody else on here with me so we can talk about all these different things. But did you know that the guy that plays his friend on that, the nerdy looking guy?
Yeah.
Did you know that is the guy that became the director of the first Black Christmas remake in 2006?
No. Is that he wasn't that one of the guys from the X-Files, or that?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember his name now. I did know. I want to say it was. gosh. I'm going to have to look it up now, Uncle Bill.
I know that the writers had something to do with that. I just don't know who the director of that movie was.
Let's see. Let's look up Trick or Treat here. Let's see. It's not. Okay. Glenn Morgan.
Yeah, Glenn Morgan is one of the writers from the X-Files.
Yep, that's what it says. Yep.
Yeah, James Wong and Glenn Morgan. I think they both probably wrote that movie too. Screenplay for the Black Christmas remake. But no, I had no idea that guy was in that movie.
Yeah, and when I first found out about it, I was like, "Holy cow, that is just so bizarre."
That's a hell of a crossover coincidence there, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read some of these chat messages because I get into these conversations and John says by the end of that movie, he probably did want to bang the car off. And Dirk says he was going to get that tailpipe job.
God.
Oh, hey, J7. Oh, Dirk says The Beast in Heat is a great love story as well, just like Romeo and Juliet. Hey, Darren. He says, hey, guys, you could include Argento's trauma with the love story of the two main characters. Yes, you could.
That's true.
You could even have a very twisted love story in Tenebrae.
Yeah.
But let's see what else here.
I'm going to put Intruder on the list because he loved that damn store so much.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So, yeah. So, again, I don't think I need to go on too awfully long about Christine. You know, I've said there's a love story in there. Again, a very twisted love story. And I've gushed over Keith Gordon. I gush over that guy every time I talk about him because
I only really remember him in like 2 movies, Dana. This one and the one with Back to School.
What about The Legend of Billie Jean? He was in
listen, I haven't seen that movie probably in 15 years.
Wow. You know, I have such great, here I go getting off on a tangent again, but I have such fond memories of The Legend of Billie Jean. And here's why. Because that is a movie I remembered catching on cable at my granny's. And at this point in time, my granny had cable. We did not have cable. We lived out in the sticks. So the best we could get was satellite. We didn't have a satellite then. So it was a treat when we would go to visit my granny and Mom would say, now, if your granny and granddaddy aren't watching anything in the den, then you guys can watch something in there and just be quiet, you know, and be good. So I remember me and my cousin Heather and Uncle Bill has met my cousin Heather. He I'm sure he remembers her from that.
I do, yeah.
Airfest convention. But when we were younger, we happened to be at Granny's at the same time. And we were just channel surfing, going through the channels, and we came across The Legend of Billie Jean. And we just fell in love with that movie. We thought it was awesome. So I think that's why I still like to watch that movie anytime and every time. It doesn't matter. No time is a bad time to watch Legend of Billie Jean. That movie still has power for me. I don't know. It just has such energy. And when you're young like that and you catch a movie like that where the young people in it are kind of being tread upon and put down and lies being told about them, and you watch that when you're a kid and you're like, yeah, I feel what they're feeling, you know, this is cool, you know.
That's right.
So I think, the combination of those things is why that movie's, why I still like to go back and watch it.
The 80s might have been the last great decade for movies like that too.
Yeah.
Like with the comeback kind of movies like that, where you had like the main character that was, trying to like get everybody all hyped and shit and like take over something. Like there were so many movies like that came out around that time that were great. They didn't do that a lot in the 90s. I guess that got old. But you look at like a lot of those movies that like I guess probably set the stage for that being like Rocky and some movies like that. But then in the 80s, you had like the Goonies and where they're all trying to like get their house back and work together to do all that. And there was a ton of ripoffs of those types of movies that were primarily in the 80s, I think.
But it seems like movies being made now, or even movies being made back in the 90s, it seemed like people didn't give a shit anymore about making movies where kids have power to make changes. They're not content to just stay kids and let things happen to them. They're gonna fix things.
I think maybe one of the last great kid movies was The Sandlot, in my opinion, which was in the 90s, I think, like sometime in the 90s. I can't remember exactly when.
Yeah.
But that was the last really like great one that I can remember, where they had that formula and you're right, for some reason they stopped doing movies like that. It became something else. Like in the late 90s and early 2000s, it became more about like every like teen or preteen was in like a band or something, or like they wanted to do pop music and like they wanted to be some sort of like a pop idol, or I don't know if that was maybe the American Idol influence on everything, but it shifted away from that, the way that they used to make those kind of movies.
I hate to say it, but kids are so shitty in movies now. Have you noticed that?
They really portrayed, but I mean, I think that really in the 80s, kids were more realistic because that was before it got so PC that nowadays they won't let kids talk like actual kids talk, right? Mm-hmm. But in the 80s, like the kids actually talk to each other a lot of times. Like you would really hear kids talk. But nowadays, it's either like it's very one dimensional. It seems they're either like the worst damn bully that you've ever seen in the world, and they just like try to put everybody down, or they're like just clean cut, don't say anything wrong, like
or they just are really shitty to their parents for no apparent reason. It's not like they have bad parents. They just say, well, fuck you, mom and dad. I'm gonna it's just, and every kid almost says that in every movie or cable show that comes out. That, like, what was it Steve was watching? He was watching was it The Last of Us? That show that's based on that video game?
Yeah, that's the one based on the zombie video game thing.
I heard that young girl on there saying the F word and everything like that. And I'm like, really? I know some kids say those words, but it seems like everything that comes out, that just what comes out of their mouth. And I'm not a prude. I just don't understand it. When did kids stop being kids? They
roundabout. Let me see. I'd say I can't pinpoint a date or anything. I would say like early 2000s, when social media started to happen, would probably be my best guess.
Could be. I mean, but like your kids, for instance, they seem well adjusted. They don't seem like the type of kids that's gonna go around saying fuck you,
No, I mean, I've never, and that's the thing though, even the parents and stuff that I'm around nowadays, like no kids really say that to them that I know, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Their kids are not coming up to them, cursing them out and stuff. Like, that's just not happening. And they damn sure ain't doing it around here. I know that. So,
yeah. And I don't think it's going on, if at all, back home, like in my mom and dad's neck of the woods, that kind of stuff doesn't go on. Now, when I moved to Louisville and I was riding public transportation a lot, I
God, I bet that was a trip. Damn.
I was I
You had
was
to see some shit.
I was kind of scared of some of those high schoolers that rode the bus with me. They would ride public transportation to get to the high school. Like when I was working in the Fern Creek area at the branch library there, some of the kids that were going to Fern Creek High School would ride the number 17 bus that I was on. And you would not believe the conversations. Somebody said they were going to beat the shit out of somebody over a jacket, some shoes, something they said to them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, this stuff is scary, to hear high school age kids talking like this. And so that was my first real life hearing and seeing that kind of behavior. But it's been in movies for a while now. Steve was watching a movie not very long ago, Piggy, I think it was called.
Oh, I've heard of it. Is that the one with Nicolas Cage? Or is that the other one? No, Pig is the one with Nicolas Cage. Piggy is the newer one. Yeah.
Yeah, Piggy and the kids, I mean, they were bullies, no doubt, to this girl. But, going so far as to almost drown somebody just because you don't like them, you think they're overweight or you think they don't look nice or what, do you really have to go to those lengths? I mean, there were bullies in a movie like Carrie, and
Yeah.
they were vicious to her. I mean, they hit her on her head with their baseball cap. They, told her she shit. They,
Let me tell you something too. Then people, may think that looks harsh or whatever, but I remember kids in school and in high school who really got treated like that. Like there was a couple of kids for whatever reason, whether it was that they were low income or whether a certain way that they looked or a certain way that they acted, they absolutely got tortured
yeah.
almost every day. And I look back on that now, 25 years later or whatever it is now. And it's like, that was hard to be around.
Mhm.
And it was just bizarre to me that kind of shit actually went on. I don't know if it's any better, if it's any worse now, but like it was bad then. I'll tell you that.
So when I was in high school, I remember there being fights. And I remember the girls were more vicious than the guys about fights, because I seen both. But it seemed to get really worse as far as the bullying went
Yeah.
after I graduated. By the time my brother, and there's 6 years between me and my brother, by the time my brother was in high school, the bullying was really, really bad. And so there was a guy that bullied this other boy. Just, it was horrible the way he bullied him. He just would not let up bullying this boy. So this boy took enough of this. And this was before, we were hearing about these school shootings all the time and stuff like that. This boy brought a baseball bat to school. And I'm not talking about a wooden baseball bat. I'm talking about one of those aluminum suckers. And he beat that boy that had been bullying him upside the head. And he almost killed him. And he just literally, he took enough of this guy bullying him every day. But I never saw or witnessed anything like that whenever I was in high school. So I
never saw anything like that. No.
Yeah, I can only suspect that things got worse after I graduated, and that I hope they're not even worse, but they probably are.
No, I do remember like the first day of high school. We were lined up against the wall, and for some reason, like all the freshmen were lined up against the wall, and the seniors were like walking down like the hallway, and they just immediately, like one of them just jumped out of line and like started beating the shit out of one of the freshmen. Like that was the first day. Like it was a fight. Like and there was many fights throughout high school. Come to think of it, and there was a lot of bullying kind of stuff that went on. I just got to imagine that's just the way that it's always been in some way or another.
I don't think I can't ever really say I was bullied, but I was a very shy child growing up. You wouldn't think that now as much as I talk, but I was very shy and I wouldn't say anything to anybody. I also had a very severe overbite growing up. And people, and I know I've told Uncle Bill some of these things about people calling me a buck-toothed rabbit. My mom would make me and my brother wear like the sock caps, the little hats with the balls on them in the winter time, and make us bundle up real good. And kids would make fun of us and pull our hats off and uh, do all kinds of things to us and make fun of me because I never hardly said anything. They would pick on me on the bus unmercifully. That's where it was the worst. Actually, it wasn't as bad at school. I also walk on my tiptoes, and I still walk on my tiptoes. And anybody that has watched me walk knows I do. People used to walk on the backs of my heels
Mm.
and walk on my shoelaces, untie my shoelaces, and then laugh if I tripped. I mean, there were different things, and it was really very hurtful. I also wasn't good at sports. So in PE class, look out, because I was the kid that got picked last.
Yeah.
They would have the most popular athletic people be the one to pick teams, and nobody wanted me on their team. And I really can't blame them because I'm as uncoordinated as hell. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, this literally that's the truth. But kids are put in positions like that, and I know the teachers don't do that on purpose, but really the only end result is these poor people get ridiculed is what happens. But
There's been some decent movies that kind of captured, I think, what it was like in high school. Some of Dazed and Confused I thought was really, really like
yeah,
close to like what it's actually like. And then I mean, there's been other ones too. It's funny because I watched the Breakfast Club again recently with
yeah,
Savannah, and I don't think that movie is very like accurate, because there's so I love that movie. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, that's
shit like that just never happened. Like I got along with pretty much everybody, but never did we ever like hang out and talk about our feelings. Like never did like the nerds and like the rock guys and like the popular kids like sit around and talk about their feelings. That shit just never
Yeah, I
happened.
don't know if it ever would have come to that, even if you were all in detention together one Saturday, which they were on the Breakfast Club. I don't
No,
ever
that no.
got to that point. But
If that had been a real detention, then what would have happened was the kids would just basically sit there and like either fell asleep or drawn on shit all day long and then just left. They wouldn't even talk to each other. Like that's what happened in detention.
and too, like Ali Sheedy's character, in that she wasn't even in trouble. She came there because she
Yeah,
had
I
nothing
listen.
to do.
I knew a lot of alley sheeties. I
Really?
knew a lot of people that acted like that in high school. Quite a few, yeah, that were just inherently weird all the time. You know what I mean? And just kind of acted like that.
Did
Um,
they ever make it snow with the danger from the
no, that's a great scene, but no. But I mean, the weirdness of it was captured really well. Just how kind of backwards and odd that they acted and things like that too. There's at least 3 or 4 people I can think of off the top of my head that were very similar to that character.
I think people thought I was weird just because I liked horror movies and like when they would have us like do creative writing for instance, I was always writing horror short stories, or
I was too. I did too.
writing these poems that I thought were interesting, not great pieces of literature or anything, but interesting. And people would look at me when, like, if the teacher had you read it aloud in class, people would look at me and they'd say, Dana, are you suicidal? I'd be like, no,
Goddamn.
I'm not suicidal.
Listen, one of the most mortifying school experiences I ever had was in elementary school. Me and a buddy of mine used to write like gore stories. I don't know. We must have got into watching horror films or something for a period and just like wanted to like emulate it. So we would write these really super like gory stories on just regular notebook paper that was like stapled together. And then we would like go back and forth and he would do something, I would do something. So we were doing it in class and I'd passed it to him to do, and the teacher got it, read it in front of the entire class, and I can still remember, that was like third grade. I can still remember just being absolutely like just mortified, that everybody knew what I was writing, and that you could just tell that it was, something was wrong with it. Yeah.
I can tell you a great shame that I used to. I bet you never did this one. Okay, so when I was a kid and I would go to church, you would sometimes get bored in church. Let's be honest, but you get bored in church.
Oh yeah.
When you weren't old enough to really understand what the preacher was saying up there. And so we would get these little church bulletin type things every time we came in, saying what songs that we were going to sing, what the preacher was going to cover that day. So I got a hold of an ink pen, pencil, whatever, and I was drawing on just aimlessly doodling on my little thing there, and I wasn't even paying attention to what I was doing. And my mom looked down at it. She glanced at it and she kind of patted my arm. She said, Dana, quit drawing that stuff. Well, what I was drawing was like severed heads and knives. It's in church,
Yeah.
What a weirdo, if somebody had gotten a hold of that, they would have, probably in my hometown, they probably would have said, you can't come to our church anymore. That probably would have been the thing.
No, man, I did the same type of things though. I drew like machetes going into people's heads and stuff. I don't know. Kids just do shit like that.
But it was really like I had no thought behind it at all.
No, it's just,
mindless stuff.
Yeah.
So let me see. I probably missed some chat messages that people put in here. Let's see. Dirk saying The Legend of Billie Jean, he said that shit played all the time on HBO, and that's probably where I saw it for the first time. Blissful, I love the 80s too. Back when we were in the middle of the 80s, I didn't ever envision myself saying that I would love the 80s, because when you're in the middle of it, you don't see the greatness of some of these decades until later. But yeah, I can say now that I love the 80s. In Texas, you say a friend of mine was in that movie during the dance scene. Oh, the Legend of Billie Jean? Oh, that's awesome. And everybody seems to be thinking about the times of cell phones and the internet. That's when it got nasty. Let's see what else. And then I promise we're going to go to another movie here. I got Uncle Bill embroiled in my tangent there. We talked for how long about that?
It's fun just to kind of bullshit about stuff.
John says, God almighty, don't watch that Euphoria show on HBO. It's teenagers, but some of the most brutal shit I've ever seen. I guess it's realistic, but hard to watch. I don't think I've watched the Euphoria show.
Haven't seen that.
Texas says it's pretty hardcore. And Blissful says it's worse, at least from what I've heard about the local high school. Yeah, I think a lot of things have gotten worse. J7 says, I never understand the tagline for Breakfast Club. It says they were 5 strangers meeting for the first time. I understand they were from different groups, but I would think they would know each other. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, it does say, I believe it does say they were strangers. Uh, 71 say, oh, you didn't get away with that going to church in my family. You get punished harshly. No, I never got punished harshly for doodling on that, but my mom, kind of made me promise not to do that anymore in church. I could do it other times, but just don't be doing it in church. So I guess I'll move on to the next movie, and Uncle Bill, feel free to jump in there at any time.
Okay.
Now this one is not exactly horror per se, but it definitely is a thriller, and that's Fatal Attraction. There are some horrific elements to this, no doubt about that, though, including the bunny boiler scene, which I know it's fake. I know they didn't really, boil a live bunny or anything like that.
I hope not.
I sincerely would hope not. And I know that Glenn Close is not really this crazy bitch, but she is an incredible actress, though.
Oh yeah.
To be able to pull off that level of crazy. So, guys, this is why you don't screw around. Okay, this is one big reason why you do, and this works for women too. Women don't screw around either, but it just happened to be that the man, played by Michael Douglas, was already in what appeared to be he appeared to be a happily married man. He had a daughter, but he was put into a position where his wife went out of town for a little bit. He had previously met Alex, Glenn Close's character, at some kind of book signing or something, some kind of party they were at. So he came into contact with her again through his job. And he basically, he was attracted to her. She was attracted to him. They took their chance, and he thought this was going to be a fling. He thought this was going to be a one-time thing, but for Alex, it wasn't.
He picked the wrong one, Dana. He picked the wrong.
Exactly. So she becomes obsessed with Michael Douglas's character, and she basically tells him, I'm not going to be ignored, Dan. She says that at one point in time in the movie. I will not be ignored. And she makes good on that. Even going so far as to near the end of the movie to attack his wife. And probably if she had succeeded in killing his wife, she probably would have killed the rest of the family too, including the little girl. I think she had gone beyond any ability to back up from where she had gone to. She had went into a whole other realm, where there was no coming back from that. And of course, I'm talking about the scene in the bathroom when she's broken into their house. The wife is getting ready to take a nice hot bath and relax. And Alex's crazy ass is in the bathroom with her. And let me ask you this, Uncle Bill, did you see that part coming the very first time you watched Fatal Attraction?
No, I didn't. And I know that there was an alternate ending for that one. They're like, that wasn't.
I believe there was.
The way that ended was not the original way it was supposed to end. And I'm trying to remember how it was supposed to end.
That's what I'm trying to remember too.
But it wasn't like that. I can't remember if she was supposed to kill the wife or if he was supposed to kill her. It might have been that he was supposed to kill her, but the audiences didn't like that. So the wife is the one that finally ended up like being the one that killed her.
May have been it, yeah.
But it was something like that. I know that. Like the ending of that movie, it was changed like kind of last minute. Maybe even based on like test screenings or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but no. I actually really like movies like that. Though there was a lot of movies that did that theme really well. Single White Female is one that I like a lot. The Crush with Alicia Silverstone is one that I like a lot.
I think I saw that one at the movies. I think I went to the theater and saw The Crush.
Yeah, Fear, the Marky Mark film.
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen that one. I know what it's about, but I don't think I've.
It's basically Fatal Attraction in reverse with a guy instead of a woman. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
He's the obsessive one in that. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a ton like that. And, it may sound sort of sick, me as a woman saying I like those kind of films. But, most of the time, the crazy woman, the crazy bitch gets killed off in them. It's not like they ever triumph and get totally what they want. It usually ends badly for them in those.
Oh yeah,
I can't think of one film like that where the crazy person has come out on top.
That movie is also based on a real disorder, borderline personality disorder, where like you're extremely like what's the word, like erratic when you're in relationships. So you go back and forth like from feeling like everything's okay to feeling like that somebody's going to leave you, and if you think they're going to leave you, then you go absolutely crazy. That's where the whole idea for that movie kind of came from, was out of that disorder. And they use that movie in like psychology and counseling classes to illustrate what that is.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I never knew that. So did in some of your classes that you had, did y'all watch that? Did y'all have to discuss?
It was in my textbook. It's in one of my textbooks. The movie, like I said, they reference it for like for the borderline personality disorder. Yeah, because I can still remember like they had a little screenshot of it, and they were like in the textbook.
Wow. Any other movies that they referenced, or was that?
Oh, there was a bunch. I mean, like what's the one with Russell Crowe? They reference that one for schizophrenia. A Beautiful Mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And let me think. Couldn't think of what. Oh, another one they talked about a lot around that time too was it was in the textbook stuff, was the one with Angelina Jolie and Winona Ryder.
Oh,
Girl Interrupted.
Girl Interrupted.
Yeah.
That is a movie that I like that movie. I like the time it takes place in, which is in the 60s, isn't it?
I think it's the 60s. Yeah, that song Downtown was real popular in it. So yeah, I think that's the 60s.
Yeah, and I'll tell you. Oh shoot, what's her name? Daggone it, my brain is going. I'm gonna have to look that up because Brittany Murphy. I knew I would think of it.
Oh yeah, I forgot she was in that.
Character in that was so bizarre. I mean, what exactly would you? I'm asking you, Uncle Bill, because you have studied all the psychology of these different things. Do you know what you would call the particular disorder that Brittany Murphy's character had in Girl Interrupted? Because what was she keeping the chicken bones underneath her bed?
I'm assuming that it was some form of like obsessive compulsive disorder that they were trying to like to flesh out with her, and some sort of neurosis. Back then they would have just called it neurosis of some kind.
And then there was a hint that her father was molesting her.
Trauma history, yeah.
So,
but that doesn't, her kind of portrayal, that doesn't really fall into one specific thing you could point at and be like, it was that, or that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, this, guys, I'm so sorry, but since I have Uncle Bill on here and Uncle Bill is well versed in psychology and stuff, I'm going to ask him about something I've always wondered about this movie. Not nothing personal.
That's shit. I know. Okay, let's do it.
I don't want to scare you, but so there was a movie. It's been a long while since this movie came out, and it had Valerie Bertinelli on it.
Uh-oh.
And she played a woman, and this is based on, maybe a little bit loosely based on, a real case of a woman who seemed quite normal in the beginning. Like she was working, well, the movie made it seem like she was working as a waitress in this, or a hostess or something, in some kind of fancy restaurant. And the guy who became her husband was in there with some business guys, and he took a shine to her, and they ended up getting married. And after they got married and she moved in with him, things started to get a little bizarre, and they kept getting more and more bizarre. So like he left it up to her to, like, he said, I'm going to have new furniture delivered today. He said, just tell them where you want them to put this stuff. And she just has a complete meltdown. And he comes home from work and he's like, what's wrong? And she's just crouched in a corner somewhere crying because she did not know what to do. She said, they were asking me where to put this furniture. I didn't know what to tell them, and I was panicking. But then it gets worse. Then she gets a job where she works on a computer all day. And she just, out of the blue, wants to destroy the equipment.
Jesus.
She like literally takes, like, I guess during a break or something, she has a straw in her Coke, and she just starts sprinkling the Coke methodically into the keyboard and laughing while she's doing it. Like she's having the best damn time of her life. Then she starts calling her husband's family members and laughing really weirdly and saying things like she's going to kill them, or I'm coming after you, or, and you're like, why is she doing these things? What kind of disorder could she possibly have to make her do this? She tries to kill her husband. She jumps out of a closet and tries to stab him.
God.
And at that point, he's like, I can't live like this anymore. She starts taking the clothes out of the drawers, like dresser drawers, and putting them in the refrigerator, and taking all the meat and stuff out of the refrigerator and putting them in the dresser drawers. And eventually it stinks like rotten meat.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of somebody that would do those?
I mean, no, not those specific. That sounds like a combination of like dementia mixed with like, some sort of like sociopathy and possibly like a dissociative kind of disorder. So no, I've never heard of those. You know what I mean? Those things don't fit together to form like any specific kind of diagnosis that I could think of.
She eventually got to the point where she shot some kids at an elementary school.
Jesus.
And tried to poison neighborhood kids. She made like Rice Krispie treats and stuff, and she put poison in them. And she then, after she shot the little kids at the elementary school, she ran and broke into these people's house where the mother and the son were there by themselves. And she basically took them hostage for a little bit. Then she went up to one of the upstairs bedrooms, and she just sat there with a gun And the cops came, her mother and father came, and they were trying to get her to come out. They, begging her to come out, and she shot herself and killed herself. And so,
What the hell movie is this?
oh gosh, let me look that up for you.
Because that's dark, dude. I've never seen that.
I don't like to watch it very often because it's a movie that gets under your skin and kind of, it sticks with you long after you've seen it. So, and to the fact that nobody ever was able to figure out what was wrong with her, with the real woman. But Valerie Bertinelli does an excellent job in the movie. But let's see if I can find it here. I think it was back in the 80s, maybe, or early 90s when that movie came.
I don't know how this one has escaped me completely, but yeah.
Murder of Innocence. That is the name of the movie. It came out in 1993.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
And yeah, I really think with your background and everything, Uncle Bill, with the psychology stuff and things, that you would at least find it interesting. But the thing that always haunted me was she did all these awful things, killing those children in the elementary school and, and then killing herself. But something that they showed in the movie was it seemed like they would show flashbacks to her when she was a little girl. And she was set. You remember those slides that, like, they might have had multiple slides on, but they had that top part that you could just sit on.
Yeah.
Or set in.
Yeah.
They showed her on top of one of those, and the other kids on the playground were running around her, kind of like mocking her or making fun of her. And she would put her hand, and this was even a little girl, put her hand in the shape of a gun, and she'd be like, so it was almost like when she was shooting those kids in the elementary school that she was shooting kids from her past or something. And her parents were odd. They were like, there's nothing wrong with our daughter. And it's like, yeah, obviously something is wrong here,
Yeah, that's not normal kind of shit at all anyway. But the thing about it is, like I said, it's not, you don't really see all those things present at the same time unless it's some sort of neurological disorder or something like dementia. But you take something like, have you seen Sybil?
Yes.
Well,
Sybil is one of my favorite movies, but that's another movie that gets under your skin.
It is, but that's multiple personality disorder, which they call like dissociative disorders now. Yeah. So like that, where you said like she would lose chunks of time or not know what she was doing or things like that. Now you can see that in dissociative disorders and things like that too.
This woman had an obsession with the number 7 too, because there would be certain scenes where she would be 7, 7, 7, 7, and she'd be writing it all over the room and lipstick or marker or whatever.
Yeah, honestly, it just sounds like that some like writer decided to pick a bunch of shit that he thought sounded, crazy and put it together.
Like I said, that it's based on a real case. But again, they never did figure out why she did these things, why this, I don't know, psychotic behavior or whatever kind of behavior you would call it came out at the age that it did, and of course she killed herself, so there was no way
to figure it out,
to ask her any questions about it later. And
now, you can think about stuff like disorganized schizophrenia too. I used to do a lot of work with people with schizophrenia, and one of the types of schizophrenia was called disorganized type because their behaviors and their speech was disorganized. So they would do things that didn't make a lot of sense, or they would say things that didn't make a lot of sense. So it was very hard to understand what they meant and what they were doing. and so it could have been based on something like that. But like I said, none of it fits together like in the typical way that you would see somebody like that.
The real woman, this was something I don't think they showed in the movie, but the real woman, I think when she was going to college, and I don't think she finished college because things started to go awry while she was in college, they found her, I believe, naked, sleeping in a trash bag at the bottom of some steps in the apartment building she was in or dorm she was in. It was just really a culmination of a lot of just bizarre, different bizarre incidents or types of behavior, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I do. I go sleep naked in a garbage bag.
And I used to worry about, and I think a lot of people do this, or maybe I'm wrong about this, I don't know, but I used to worry about just going crazy, and either, doing something really bad or ending up in a mental hospital. I used to have big fears about ending up in a mental hospital. And like with me having depression and anxiety, sometimes I still think about that. I'm like, what if I have a really bad panic attack and somebody thinks I've just completely lost it and they cart me off to the mental hospital. And then, people have fears that once you get in a place like that, you won't ever get out, that they'll just.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore because of insurance.
Yes.
The longest you're going to stay in a place like that's about 3 days now. So.
They don't want to keep people now. But when I was a lot younger, I would, upper teens, 16 through 19 or whatever. And then even in my early 20s, I was worried about it a little bit. And you would hear things about schizophrenia just coming on suddenly on young people primarily. And I was like, oh my gosh, So I had to keep away from movies like that there for a while, or books that talked about schizophrenia. There was a movie with Nancy McKeon on it, Strange Voices. You ever seen that one?
Mm-mm.
And she is a college student who just all of a sudden starts hearing voices that tell her boyfriend's cheating on her, that her parents are trying to kill her. And it's a very sad movie. Very upsetting movie, which is another one I don't watch very often. So
no.
But now that I bummed everybody out talking about psychological disorders here,
yeah, well,
we'll move on to something a little more cheery. And
I can't wait to see what this is.
This one is going to be like a kind of bizarre. Well, I don't really want to say bizarre because I have friends that are homosexual, so that's not my kind of lifestyle. The gay lifestyle is not for me, but I don't care if it's other people's lifestyle. I'm one of those people. If that's the way you want to live, then that's the way you want to live, right?
Dana, me and you both know you're into that lifestyle. Now, come on.
I don't care if other people are, but no, that's not the life.
I think at this point, the way things are now, who even gives a shit about any of that anymore? Like, are there still people that are holding on to that, or that they actually give a damn about that shit?
My mom does.
Yeah, they're all going to be older, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. So I laughed one time. What was it Steve's mom said? She was riding in the back seat. We were just riding around town. She was visiting us in Louisville, and she said something to the effect that the homosexuals were going to take over the world.
God.
And I laughed. I could not help myself. I was like, man,
You see what I mean? I mean, it's just, oh, God. Some of
But
the stuff people say.
anyway, the movie that I'm going to talk about now is Hide and Go Shriek. Okay.
Now, you're on your own on this one, Dana, because I'm not positive I've ever seen that movie.
Oh
And
my
if
God.
I have, it's been years and years ago.
Now, Code Red put this one out. Probably the only company that would put this out at that point in time. I mean, I could maybe see Vinegar Syndrome or somebody putting it out now, but I don't know who exactly has the rights to it right now.
That shit
But
Vinegar Syndrome put out today was some of the awful stuff I've ever seen.
what's it really?
God almighty. Steve would probably buy one of them at least because it's an Asian zombie movie.
He
it
probably
looks like a category 3 type of film, so he probably will get it.
Now, Texas said Devonsville Terror was one. Now, I remember liking Devonsville Terror.
I've never seen it, but that was the only one on that list that I thought. Well, that's not true. I actually did buy the Clue documentary because I love that movie,
Okay.
and I actually was interested to see like kind of the background of what went on behind that movie.
Mm-hmm. Actually, something I did order today, I got ordered from Bright Rags. I wanted to get me a My Bloody Valentine t-shirt, which it's on its way as we speak. And then Steve's probably going to kill me. But I got the My Bloody Valentine board game. Because, like, I've been wanting to get one of those board games from that Stop the Killer company. They put out
Yeah,
several. And then, of course, Fright Rags, I guess, has a partnership with them or something because they've been selling a lot of those games. So I thought, what the heck? I'm going to go ahead and get this My Bloody Valentine one. Then I'm going to have to find somebody to play it with me because Steve's probably not going to. Steve won't even play freaking Monopoly with me.
what the fuck? Well, in Steve's defense, Monopoly does take like 12 hours. You know what I mean?
We
Oh God! Like no matter.
kind of sped it up a little bit that day, but I'm not going to tell you how we sped it up a little bit, but we did. Anyways, back to Hide and Go Shriek. Hide and Go Shriek does have a a very twisted kind of love story in it because the killer in this was in prison with another guy, and we all know what happens sometimes when straight guys go into prison. Okay, they get lonely, there's no women around, so they get them a friend. So, you know, I'm just gonna say it that way, okay? So how did I say it, Uncle Phil?
Okay. Get him a friend. What are you drinking anyway, Dana?
I'm drinking Moosehead.
Oh, okay. I thought that was Heineken. I thought you were drinking the good stuff.
No, I've been wanting to try Moosehead because, as you know, that is the Canadian beer that is featured quite prominently in My Bloody Valentine's. What everybody's drinking, every box they're carrying stuff in has Moosehead on it.
Yep.
So there was even a point in time where I thought somebody told me that Moosehead wasn't a real beer, but it's a real beer. I mean, I've got it right here in my hand, and it says it's Canadian. Yep. And it's union made. It says.
Hell yeah, there's unions in Canada. I had no idea. How is it, by the way?
You know, I was afraid after I bought it because I only got a small pack of 6 bottles. That was the smallest I could get, and it cost me $9. So I thought I better not hate this shit because usually beers I don't much care for. But anyway, I think it tastes similar to Rolling Rock.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. It has that sort of citrusy like taste like Rolling Rock does, and I don't mind Rolling Rock, so this isn't too bad. I don't envision myself drinking it often, but I will for the Valentine's season. Just in preparation, one thing for my My Bloody Valentine watch along, which is going to be February 11th.
Hell
And
yeah.
were you in here when I said that I thought I would do a Paul Kelman, Keith Knight, and Alf Humphreys tribute?
No.
Because those are the three guys from My Bloody Valentine that have passed on, and I just kind of wanted to do a little tribute to them. So that's probably what I'll be doing tomorrow. But
So you've got that coming up tomorrow, then you got the commentary coming up on the 11th.
yeah,
Okay.
you gonna
My
be
Bloody.
there for those?
I might be in there for the commentary. That's one that I've seen. I don't know how many times, but like you never really get tired of that movie for some reason. At least I don't.
No, I don't think anybody that watches it, you know, there's a lot of people that watch it every Valentine's Day or around that time period, and nobody seems to get sick of it.
I can also tell you too that that's one movie that really benefited from the unrated version. I
Yes,
thought it did anyway.
and I remember way back before we even thought we would get this unrated version. And I remember, I think it was either Gore Zone or Fangoria, and I can't remember which magazine it was. But I saw pictures of the unrated stuff, but that was all you could see. Like the girl on the when he puts her on the shower
Yeah,
pipe or whatever, you could see that, and I'm like, oh man, wouldn't that be so cool if we could actually see that in the movie like that instead
yeah.
of in these still photos? And I never dreamed that years and years later we would get that. But yeah, I agree. That movie definitely benefits from being able to watch it unrated or as the director intended. And he even says that in the intro to the movie that you're watching it almost the way he intended it to be shown. So, but anyway, back to Hide and Go Shriek. Hide and Go Shriek, the killer is angry because when his, we'll say, friend gets out of prison, he wants to go back to being straight again. You know, he doesn't want to maintain a romantic relationship with this other guy. So this guy is obsessed. He goes apeshit and he's going to blame anybody that he thinks is coming in between him and the other guy. So the other guy, when he got out of prison, he was able to get a job working for a guy that owns a furniture store. And you know, he's trying to do his diligent duty and go the straight and narrow and not do anything wrong. So the guy that owns the furniture store is also letting him live in the basement of his furniture store. And a guy that works for him says, "You're crazy letting this guy he's an ex-con, all this stuff. Why are you letting him live in the furniture store?" "Oh, well, he just broke up with his girlfriend. He needed a place to stay and all that." So at the beginning of this movie, you see someone, a guy, obviously, because we see the beard stubble on him, but he's putting makeup on. And so you're already like, yeah, this is not normally the type of makeup that guys put on, you know. Like he was putting Max Factor lipstick on, you know, it so then the guy, you know, he has a suit and stuff on too, and his hat and all that, and all this makeup on. Then he goes out and it's obvious he's looking for a hooker. Okay. So he finally finds one and she gets in the car with him. They go not very far, and then you see them having sex in some alley or something, and then all of a sudden he pulls out a knife and kills the hooker. Okay,
Well, I mean, you gotta
you got
kill the hooker. You know, can't just have hookers roaming around freely.
so we can only or we come to realize that this guy is the guy that wants to keep the relationship with the other guy, the guy that's living in the basement of the furniture store. Okay, so a little side story is the guy that owns the furniture store, his son and a bunch of his friends and their girlfriends have decided that they're going to sneak in the furniture store before it's locked up for the night and kind of hide out so nobody sees them. And then they're going to spend the night in the furniture store. Why they thought this would be a fun idea, I don't know, but they do.
Yeah, that's like the worst idea ever.
So the boy that his dad owns the store, he gives orders to everybody. It's like, don't break anything, don't mess anything up, all of that. And then of course he really slyly says, any beds you mess up need to be made up by the morning. And so you know what he means by that. So they're there obviously with their girlfriends. So you know there's going to be a lot of hanky panky going on in this furniture store. So number one, they don't know that the guy is in the basement. Number two, they don't know that the killer is also in the furniture store with them. And why he thinks that they're coming between him and the guy that he had the romantic relationship with, I'll never know, but he's just crazy, I guess. So he slowly starts killing off these kids in the furniture store. And when he kills somebody, he takes their clothes. And so in this dark furniture store, he might look like one of their friends. Even down to dressing in one girl's negligee. After he kills her off, he takes her negligee, and then he's running through the dark, giggling and stuff like that. And the guy that was with this girl, and she was getting in the negligee and getting ready to go back and have a rendezvous with the other guy. So he just sees this person running through there, giggling through the darkness, and he can catch little flashes. But then he sees like full on chest hair and everything. And he knows this is not Melissa. This is not the chick he was with. And he's like, who are you? You know, and then the guy, of course, kills him. So when this movie first came out, I saw it in the video stores. That's the first time I ever saw it. And
yeah, I remember the cover for it for sure.
Yeah. Isn't that the most horrendous cover? Like, it's an awful cover.
It is, but it's memorable somehow or another. I don't know how.
It is memorable. Yeah, you don't forget that cover, but I do remember that cover, seeing it in the video store. And based on the cover alone, that's why I took it home. And because it had that close your eyes, count to 10, and run for your life. That was the other thing I could never understand. These are high school graduates. Why in the hell were they playing hide and seek?
Were they actually playing hide and seek in this fucking movie?
Yes.
I don't know. That's horrible.
Yeah,
it never happened.
I remember back when Steve and I did a commentary for this movie, I think I asked that. Why would they be playing hide and go seek as old as they were? I said, I played hide and go seek when I was maybe 6 to 10 years old or something.
Yeah, that's the appropriate age to play hide and go seek.
Whenever I got in high school, and when I graduated high school, I'm like, I wouldn't even thought of playing hide and go seek. But the blonde that comes up with the idea to do this She was actually dating Bob Seger.
What?
Yeah. This chick, I don't know if you guys can see that real good, but the blonde that's screaming there.
Tina Seeger.
Well, she didn't marry him, but she was dating him at the time. This chick was.
She must love beards.
And there's another girl that her real name is Bunky Jones. I kid you not, Bunky Jones.
I know old Bunky Jones.
And Bunky Jones is actually, she looks better than that, but this picture on the cover of this makes her look horrible. Makes her look like an old woman or
That's
something.
what I was thinking.
And I always thought that. But there's another actress, Donna Baltrin, who's a very pretty brunette in this movie, who you guys may appreciate. And some lesbian chicks might appreciate as well. She does this whole routine where, you know, her and her boyfriend been planning on having sex, and she's always too nervous to do it. And then all of a sudden, she's like, "Oh, okay, we're alone now," and she does this whole strip tease for her boyfriend. And you had no idea that this girl had this body underneath all those clothes. And so I'm sure you guys will enjoy that, especially if you have not seen this and want to see something where you get to see a little female flesh.
Well, let me ask you this, Dan. Did you like Hide and Go Shriek?
I like it because here's why. Because it's one of those, for me anyway, so bad it's good. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody's going to feel that way about this movie. Steve hates this movie. Steve doesn't ever want to see this movie again.
God, that's bad for Steve because, you know, he's in the rape film. So
he wants to watch Raped by an Angel or Rape Man.
You know that's bad when Steve don't want to see it again.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to start using on him. You know, you want to watch all these rape films. What the hell's wrong with you? I'm just wanting to watch Hide and Go Shriek here. You know. Oh, look out. CK's in here.
Yeah.
The Night Painter. Oh. Hey, it's Uncle Bill. He wanted to come on tonight. And Hide and Go Shriek makes me want to go hide. I want to hide and go shit. So I take it, CK, that you are not. You don't like Hide and Go Shriek. You must be in the same camp Steve's in. You must be in the same tent with him because Steve does not like it. Oh, well, thank you, J7. You say Dana talking about these movies are more entertaining than the movies themselves. And that may be the case for some of you guys. It might be more entertaining to hear me talk about them than to actually watch them. But for me, this is like Terror on Tour, Final Exam, stuff like that. They're so bad, they're good for me. Now, that doesn't mean...
Hey, listen. We got to have talk about those other two movies.
What? Final Exam? Terror on Tour? What?
Oh, no. No. Just no.
What, okay, what about Offerings? That one you did the watch along with me.
That one was actually like so bad that it was hilarious. Because, like you said on there, it's basically just Halloween. It's like a low version of Halloween.
Exactly. Yeah. So not all of them are just horrendously bad, right?
That one was also horrendously bad, but it was funny at least.
But it was, you had fun with it, though.
Yes.
Whereas
now, Final Exam, oh God, there ain't nothing fun about that movie at all.
Yes, CK, I remember Final Exam.
Oh God.
Hey.
Who the hell would want that on 4K though? I
told CK because he sent me a chat message with that, Dark Force Entertainment, of course, is putting it out. And I said, I laughed about. I had the little laughing emoji, but I said, I'm going to get that, right? And he's like, oh yeah, I know you're going to get it.
Oh my Lord!
I don't know if it'll be a day one purchase. It depends on how the money situation goes, but I'll be getting it soon after it comes out. So, Uncle Bill, you want to say anything else about Hide and Go Shoot?
No, I've got it. Can't wait to watch it.
You've got it?
I own it. Yeah, it's just one of those ones that I've never watched.
Oh, man, you better crack that sucker open. Get Savannah to watch it with you.
I'm sure she would love that.
I don't know if you'd want the kids watching it, but Savannah.
No, I can't get them to watch a damn thing like anymore, like related to horror films or anything. No, like they've all gone completely soft on me.
Oh wow! Even Tiny has gone soft on you.
Tiny won't watch anything like that anymore. The hardest thing that the hardest thing she'll watch is Wednesday. She liked the Wednesday series. And then Piper watches like the Final Destination stuff. She'll watch all those movies, like her favorite series, but she won't really watch any like newer stuff. I think Halloween Ends, she may have watched that. That might have been like, I felt bad for her for having watched that. I didn't.
Oh man, yeah.
I didn't watch that with her.
Okay, so moving right along is a movie that I watched on TV the first time around, and I'm trying to remember if I don't think there was a theatrical release, but there might have been a cable release that would have been considered a hard R, but I'm not 100% sure on this. And this is a movie that I talked about a while back, and Uncle Bill said I was taking a deep dive when I talked about this movie. And that movie is Lisa with Stacey Keenan, and Cheryl Ladd plays her mother on it. So this is back to my TV watching, like movie of the week type stuff, watching with my mom. And so, yeah, this movie's gonna have some fond memories for me just because of that. So the tagline for Lisa is, someone out there is Lisa's fancy. Pray she never meets him. And this was a really good movie, at least for the time period when it came out on TV. And like people probably say now, they know who Cheryl Ladd is, but they're probably like, who the hell is Stacey Keenan? You ask a kid now who Stacey Keenan is, they probably wouldn't have a clue who that is.
I don't think they'd know who Cheryl Ladd was either, to be honest. But
well, kids,
our old asses know who it is, but
probably wouldn't know. Yeah. They might know possibly who Jordan Ladd.
Jordan Ladd, yeah.
Her daughter, but so Stacey Keenan plays a 14-year-old girl. She plays the title character in this movie. Did you ever watch Step by Step? Uncle
Yeah.
Will?
Yeah.
She was on Step by Step, and she was also on My Two Dads as well.
Holy Lord. Was she on My Two Dads? I used to watch that show all the time, too.
Yeah, I don't know if I watched My Two Dads. I know what it is.
Good
But
Lord.
I did definitely watch Step by Step, because Step by Step in the later years of TGI Fridays, remember TGI Fridays?
Uh-huh.
And they would have all those Full House and Family Matters and all that stuff. I mean, boy, I'm really dating myself here.
That was back in the day when TV was kind of king, though, yeah.
When TV was good, before all this reality shit and stuff came out. I'm sorry, guys, if you like some of that reality stuff, but I like my sitcoms and stuff like that. Now, Steve, he doesn't like sitcoms anymore. Like, I'll go back and watch all the old sitcoms, and he says, why do you want to watch that shit for? That's, he said, I don't even like that stuff anymore. I was like, well, go watch whatever. I'm going to go back and watch these old sitcoms because I like them. So anyway, Cheryl Ladd plays her mother, and she's really overprotective of Lisa because when she was a young girl, she got pregnant with Lisa, and I don't think she was married, and she maybe didn't marry Lisa's father, and she just doesn't want Lisa to make the same mistakes that she made. And so she forbids her to date until she's 16.
Hmm.
So for a kid, for a 14-year-old, that's a lifetime. You tell them they got to wait 2 years to date, that's a lifetime to make them wait.
They all do that shit now, Dan. Every one of them. Make everybody wait till they're at least 16.
You got to make your girls wait until they're 16.
I'd make them wait till they're 18.
You're gonna make them wait till they're 30.
Yeah, I don't want to hear nothing about no bullshit with no guys.
Oh man.
What's going on, Tony Bones?
Hey, yeah. Anthony's in here. Awesome. See, I need to keep going later with these. CK keeps telling me the later I have these things, the more people I'll have come in here.
That's true. I don't know why that is, but that's always the case. Yeah.
So Lisa and Wendy, her best friend, who Wendy is played by, gosh, what is that girl's name? She was in all kinds of stuff.
Come on, Dana, help me out. Give me some hint.
Damn, I'm gonna have to look it up again. And then I'll probably tell you guys the name, and you'll say, "Who the hell is that?" That'll be the response, probably. And actually, this came out in 1989. That's when this was released.
89 and 90 was a weird year for films, like horror films.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord.
Tanya Fenmore.
Hell yeah, Tanya Fenmore.
You probably have no idea.
I don't know who that is. Tanya Fenmore, Dana. Who the shit is that?
Did you see My Stepmother is an Alien?
Yes, sadly enough, I have seen that movie.
She was also in My Two Dads.
Now, who was she in My Two Dads?
It looks like Merle, but maybe it's Merle.
Dude, I don't know. This has probably been the most anybody's talked about My Two Dads in the last 20 years, by the way, on anything.
She was in Punky Brewster. I think she played one of Punky Brewster's really close friends in that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Have you seen a lot of the Tales from the Dark Side episodes?
Hell yeah, I used to watch them all the time with Dad.
Remember the episode The Trouble with Mary Jane, where the little girl was possessed by a demon?
Vaguely, yeah.
So Tanya Fenmore played Mary Jane in that.
Jesus Christ, and you're going way too deep tonight.
Sorry. But Tanya Fenmore.
I'm looking up Tanya Fenmore as we speak.
She was somebody that when I saw her in this, I was like, oh, I know who that is. Radkins is in here. Ryan's in here.
The Radnator.
Chris V's in here. Hey, guys. J7 saying this is the most anyone has talked about.
Yeah, Tanya Fenmore's getting like all kinds of press.
She's getting some love tonight. Leave it to Dana to bring up Tanya Fenmore. CK says, did you play Mary Jane Rotten Garage? No, I don't believe that was her full name on that episode. So anyway, back to while Uncle Bill is looking up Tanya Fenmore.
Yeah, I see who she is now. I vaguely do remember who this is, though.
She's Lisa's best friend, Wendy is. So they come up with a game that consists of trying to get attractive men's phone numbers. So if they see an attractive man out on the streets in town, they will figure out some underhanded way of getting his phone number, and then they will call him. In this way, it's kind of similar to I Saw What You Did, the old movie where they kind of do the prank calls and they call the wrong person, a person that has just killed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of loosely remade into a movie. I believe it was called I Know Who You Are, I Saw What You Did. That
Yeah.
Candace Cameron on it.
Yeah.
And Robert Carradine was on it as the crazy guy.
He's always the damn crazy guy.
Yeah, and he's good at playing crazy. I mean, he's good at playing like a nerdy guy too, like on the
Yeah.
Nerds movies. But he's good at playing crazy too, because he was also a good crazy guy in Body Bags in that first.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes, he was wacko. When he's coming up behind that chick and he's like waving the blade or whatever it is around and it's making that whistling noise, that is just creepy and effective too. So the way that this movie is kind of like I Saw What You Did is that they end up calling a guy who is the candlelight killer. And they call this guy the candlelight killer because he kind of romances women and then he kills them. And the last thing he does before he kills them is he puts an answer machine message on their answer machine that says, hello, whoever he's planning to kill, this is Richard. And I'm in your apartment and I'm going to kill you. And the next thing you know, this woman's like, she's startled, like, who the hell is this? Like, leaving me this message. And then he'll come up behind them and strangle them or something and kill them. And so the girls end up calling Richard because Lisa has seen him out on the street. He's I think he's a maitre d' at a fancy restaurant. But she has no idea, of course, he's the candlelight killer. So they get embroiled in this thing where he gets Lisa confused with her mother. And so he's planning on going after her mother and killing her. So this does have a little bit of a romantic slant to it, but again, it's very twisted too. And these underage girls being that into these grown men where they will hide out in their cars and take pictures of these guys and do all of these things. So, because of the romantic angle is really why I wanted to include this one. So, have you seen this at all, Uncle Bill?
No. Now, I want to ask you this too, though, about one that just recently got released from Arrow. Have you seen Lover's Lane?
I have not.
Okay, that's one I want to pick up because that looks like it would be, from the trailer and everything, it just looks like it would be something like right up my alley in terms of, I think it came out in the 90s and it's like a slasher.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it. If I have seen it, it's been a long while since I have. So
Now, what about one you have mentioned? I don't know if you've ever mentioned it on this show or not. I'm not entirely positive. Picnic at Hanging Rock.
I know of that movie, but that is not a movie I've ever had the pleasure of watching, though.
That's one of the weirdest kind of movies that's similar to kind of some of the things you're talking about for this show too. Like a group of students go up to this rock formation or something like that, and they're having like a field trip or something, and then like all hell breaks loose and they all start going missing, and then you come to find out like different kind of like weird stuff is happening. It's a good movie. It came out in the 70s, though.
I think Steve has seen it
Of
because
course, of course, Steve has seen it. Yeah.
Steve's seen like everything because
Does
he's
it have rape in it? I can't remember. I don't think it does.
all those rape movies that he wants to watch, and like he said on multiple occasions that he doesn't want to watch I Spit on Your Grave with me.
Yeah.
He did watch it when we did a commentary many, many moons ago, but he doesn't want to watch it with me anymore. I don't know why. I mean, he's he's not attacked me or anything like that where I would want to cut off his member or anything. I don't know why.
That's the funny thing about Steve. That one day he was talking about Terrifier 2, and he was like, that part killed me. He's like, yeah, that movie just really went way too far. Then the next minute he's like, anyway, Rape to Hell came out this week.
Exactly.
I'm just like, wow.
So J7 says Dana digs up all the forgotten actors and actresses. I do that quite often. Dirk says the freaks come out at night. And CK says Lover's Lane comes in April. This is what I was laughing at earlier when you were talking, Uncle Bill. Stuntman Mark says, first thing I hear coming in is underage girls being interested in older men. Yeah, sorry about that, Stuntman Mark. It's a wonder you didn't say, hell, I'm getting out of here. Oh, Phantasm Matt's in here too. He says, I've been wanting to watch that movie for a while now. So which one? Picnic at Hanging Rock, maybe? Or
I don't know if he's talking about Lover's Lane or Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Or Lover's Lane. Dirk says, CK, that looks pretty bad, but might be good for a laugh. Darren says, Lover's Lane is a good, I Know What You Did Last Summer knockoff. The blonde girl from Scary Movie is in it. CK says, Steve's promoting his own film fest this summer, Rapemania. Lord,
Rapemania's running wild, brother.
I really hope my live streams do not fall in the wrong hands.
Me too. It'll be really bad for all of us, I feel like. But especially for Steve.
Yeah, especially for Steve. Steve might be going behind locked bars for a long time if somebody really believed he was,
This is all just a joke. We're all good people. I just want you to know. Just everybody chill out. We're good people. We mean well.
Dirk says, cross between Town That Dreaded Sundown and I Know What You Did Last Summer. He must be talking about Lover's Lane. Phantasm Matt, you say, have either of you guys seen any Jean Roland movies, Fascination or The Living Dead Girl, been eyeing them up lately? I don't think I've seen any of them unless I'm just blocking it out or something and I've seen one with Steve. I think he has The Living Dead Girl, though. I do think he has that one.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like something Steve would have. It's got necrophilia or something like that in it, so I'm sure he's got it.
Oh, Phantasm Matt says I was talking about Picnic. Yeah. Okay. So,
okay, what about Dana, one more. One more off the top of my head. Okay. I've never heard you talk about this movie, so I'm really curious about what you think about it. What about Happy Death Day to You? Or Happy Death Day?
I've seen it. But are you saying what do I think about it?
Or? I'm asking, two-part question. What did you think about it, number one? And also, would it fit into this list?
I mean, maybe, but to be totally honest with you, it's been so long since I watched it, I can't really remember a whole heck of a lot about it. Steve might be more one to ask that question because he probably remembers more about it than I do.
I can't even imagine Steve watching that movie, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure he did. I'm pretty sure we watched it together when we watched it.
I actually really like that movie. I know people probably give me shit about it or whatever because there's a lot of hardcore people that watch a lot of hardcore things, but like it's just a lighthearted movie, and I thought that it was like there were some good performances in it, and it had a cool idea at least that had not
Yeah,
been done 5,000 times.
exactly. I think at this point in time, that's one of the big things that you've got to come up with something original. Because at this point, all the people watching movies, especially like, and I'm going to mention old Curly Jaws here, old Curly Jaws and his generation, they've seen everything by now. So you've got to keep throwing new ideas and stuff. Um, and even us old school guys and gals, think of all the movies we've seen. You know, I'm 46 years old. I've seen a lot of movies. Steve's older than that. He's seen a whole hell of a lot of movies. And so,
Sorry. Just the way you said that, Steve's older than that. Yeah.
well, he is. He's a few years older than me. I haven't reached 50 yet. But
So what you got?
I was just reading these. CK says Steve's older than fuck. I don't think he's older than that. That's been around for a long time. Anyways, all right. So the next one, actually, this one I'm not going to talk about right now.
X-ray with Bobby Benton, yeah.
And
Bambi Benton.
that one actually does have a Valentine's Day theme running through it. But the one I wanted to talk about tonight is on the flip side of that, and that is Schizoid with good old
Klaus Kinski. Yep.
And who else is on this? Craig Wasson is on this. And who else is on this? Who else is on this?
You got me, Dana. After Craig Wasson, I'm all fresh out of fuckers.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd is in this movie, believe it or not. Doc Brown from the Back to the Future movies is in this as a very bizarre, weird guy that talks about getting pissed off because everybody has somewhere to go after work. Everybody except him, and it makes him pissed. And
everybody's got something to do, Dana. Everybody but you.
Yeah, he could be singing that song. So,
but wait, there's more. You know who
more.
else is in this movie?
Okay, I'm thinking.
Think about it.
Donna Wilkes is in this.
That's right, from Jaws 2.
Miss Donna Wilkes.
She's the one that's basically in a coma the whole time in Jaws 2 that just like freaks out and stays like, yeah.
Yeah, she's better in this. She gets to do a lot more stuff in this movie. And, you know, I think about it now, and I don't think Klaus Kinski would have been trying to grab her ass or anything, but his history with women and women that he was in films with, his track record wasn't too good.
No, Klaus Kinski was just insane. Like, there's no.
He also had a very bad explosive temper, evidently. I had seen some footage. I forgot what movie it was from, but he was just going ape shit. He was completely losing it. And he was so hard for people to work with that the director of Crawl Space did a short film called Please Kill Mr. Kinski.
Yeah.
And so you know how he felt about him. I think that was David Schmoller, wasn't it? Wasn't it the same
guy that directed Puppet Master? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, they had a real hard. He would basically just get to the point where he would tell him to do opposite stuff so that he would do the other thing. You know what I mean? Like, so because he would never listen to anything he said. If he told him to like act one way, he would act different. So he would just tell him to do the exact opposite of what he wanted.
Psychology on a grown man.
Yeah.
So, Schizoid was a movie that the first time I even became aware that this movie was out there was back in the days where I was watching a lot of VHS tapes. And I don't know if anybody in here remembers when Yahoo had auctions. Does anybody remember Yahoo auctions?
I don't even remember that. I bet CK does. That some bitch probably bought some stuff from there.
CK, did you participate in Yahoo auctions? Well, I did early on until it kind of fizzled out, and then I went over to eBay. But early on, I would peruse the stuff on Yahoo auctions, especially old VHS tapes. They were in abundance, and usually you could get. It didn't matter what the movie was, you could get them pretty cheap. Okay, usually less than $10, which I considered very cheap at that point in time. This was
Yeah.
long before I had a DVD player and I was getting DVDs and stuff. So I would find these movies, some of which I'd seen before and wanted to actually have a personal copy, or there were some that they had the plot synopsis for, and they were ones that I never rented or never saw any other place. And I was like, well, this one didn't cost very much, so I'm just gonna get it. So on one of those, a lot of times there would be like previews before and after the feature film, or sometimes they would just be after the feature film. So I would always watch those and see if there was anything that looked interesting that I might want to pick up at some point in time. So I can't remember which video I was watching now, but at the end of it, there was a trailer for Schizoid. And I was like, damn, I got to get a hold of this movie. This movie looks really cool. And it does have some Giallo elements to it, using shears to kill people, a sharp instrument to kill people, um, killing mostly women off
Mm-hmm.
in this, wearing black gloves. I mean, all of those kind of Giallo tropes that Argento pretty much made famous. So I think Darren and I may have talked about this being kind of Giallo-esque. But so there is a group that Klaus Kinski is like the psychologist or whatever, and he has these people that are having relationship problems, they're having marital problems, they're having emotional problems. It seems kind of weird because there's a wide variety of people that come to his house and comes to his sessions. It seems like you would want to focus on not mix and match people, like have all the people having marital problems in one group, people that are having other relationship problems in another group, and definitely don't have the emotional problem people with all these other people with different problems. I mean, that just seems like that would make sense to me. But this is a horror movie, so we can't look for logic in it. So evidently, Klaus Kinski is screwing every woman in this therapy group, or most every one of them in this therapy group, because one of the girls is a topless dancer, stripper, or whatever you want to call it, and she goes to work, does her thing on stage, gets her money, leaves, goes backstage, and guess who's back there? Klaus Kinski is back there, and he has a little quickie session with her, right? And so then he gets involved with kind of like a least likely subject in his group. She seems like one that wouldn't just give in to him like some of these other women have given in to him, but she does. She is also going through a divorce with her husband. They both work at the same newspaper office, and her husband is, or her soon to be ex husband, is played by Craig Wasson. And they don't really look like a match, but maybe it was one of those opposites attract type of deals or something. But Craig Wasson, his character seems a little off, a little kooky the whole entire movie. And does anybody know what else Craig Wasson was in besides Ghost Story? He was in Ghost Story.
No.
He was in Nightmare on Elm Street 3. He played one of the doctors that was trying to help the kids.
Ah, shit. I'm trying to think. He wasn't the main one, right?
I thought he was. He was pretty much the head over
The
all-
psychologist guy that does the. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
That was Craig Wasson. Yeah. So he doesn't really want to get divorced from his wife. And she, comes into work. He's putting new wallpaper up in his office, and she stops in to talk to him in his office, and she's like, "Are you staying here all night and stuff?" He's like, "I'm putting up new wallpaper, and stuff." And then she asks him about the divorce papers, and he's like, "Yeah, they arrived, but I haven't signed them yet." And so you can clearly tell that he doesn't want to go through with this divorce, but she does. And he says, you never talked about getting a divorce until you started going to this group. And you can tell he's a little unnerved by it, doesn't like it, thinks that the group is changing his wife. And most men probably would feel that way. They would feel threatened by a group who encourages a woman to get divorced from her husband, go out on her own. Hey, yeah, it'll be better for you. What man wouldn't be angry at that? So before I say any more about this, if you have not seen this, and Uncle Bill, have you seen it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you've seen it. So if there is anybody in the chat that has not seen this, you might want to step away because I'm going to give away the goods here.
Oh, shit. Here it comes.
So block your ears, step out of the room, do whatever, because I am going to tell you who the killer is.
Don't do it, Dana.
And the killer is, as we all know, the least likely suspect. Okay. And I did not know that this person was the killer the first time I saw it. Uncle Bill, did you know who the killer was when you first saw it?
Shit, no. I couldn't even figure out who the killer was in Terror Train. So, it was like.
So the killer turns out to be the husband, the soon-to-be ex-husband, Craig Wasson's character. And he is killing off members of her therapy group because he's angry because they've taken his wife away from him. And he doesn't like it.
I guess makes sense. I mean, in the context of the story and everything, it makes sense.
Yeah, but you would like to think that just regular men out there running around in the world are not all going to go ape shit and start killing people when their wife wants a divorce. we would hope not, anyway.
You would think that, yeah.
So I'm going to back up a little bit. What I was talking about Donna Wilkes and Klaus Kinski, and Uncle Bill probably knows what I'm going to say here. There are scenes where Klaus Kinski is just outside of the bathroom or whatever, where Donna Wilkes is undressing. Clearly, she's naked. She's stepping in and out of the shower. I can't remember how old Donna Wilkes was when this movie was made, but I'm sure she had to be old enough to get naked. She never has any sex in the movie that we see. But it always just unnerved me the way Klaus Kinski was just outside of the area. And there were a couple of scenes where reflections in the mirror, he could see her. And this was supposed to be his daughter in the movie. And so it was just,
Well, that kind of fits with Klaus Kinski, though. He's
yeah,
always like uber creepy in any movie that he's in.
yeah,
By the way, she was 22 when
22.
this. Yeah.
So she was one of those girls that looked younger than she actually was, evidently. So I just always thought that part was creepy. And just the fact that even though I know how Klaus Kinski was in real life, just the fact that him having sex with all these women, and it's like, and the blonde woman that was the stripper, topless dancer, whatever you want to call her, she just seems like she just loves to get it on with Klaus Kinski. She's like, I love it when you take me by surprise, or you always surprise me or something. It's like, no. This is just wrong, wrong, wrong.
Klaus Kinski is also one of the weirdest looking dudes of all time. Like he looks like that Richard Lynch guy.
Yeah.
Like it's just those are the weird, like Richard Lynch mixed with Rutger Hauer or something, like just a weird looking dude.
Yeah. Speaking of Richard Lynch, though, that guy, like one movie that he unnerved me in.
I know what you're going to say. It has to be.
Was, gosh, and then it totally slipped out of my mind.
Come on, Dana.
It's coming. It's coming. Bad Dreams.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be it.
With the very Manson-esque qualities to that. It's like, I don't know. That is a character that gets under your skin and stays there.
Did you ever hear the story about him? I remember reading up on him around, like, this has been 5 or 6 years ago. He got on acid or something to this effect. It was acid, LSD, something like that. And ended up like burning himself somehow, catching himself on fire.
I knew he burned himself really badly.
Yeah, and that's where you see all that shit, scars and stuff that are on his face and everything, and neck and things like that.
I didn't know he was on acid or any drugs.
Well, that's the story. That was the story that I read. Like somehow or another, it was related to some sort of like bad acid trip. And he ended up like catching himself. I don't know if he purposely set himself on fire or if he stumbled into a fire. I don't know what happened to him.
He was on angel dust or something.
Yeah.
I go on a tangent, but speaking of angel dust, has anybody in here, including Uncle Bill, seen the movie Angel Dust?
I thought you were going to say, have we ever used angel dust? Yeah, I'm on it right now.
I hope not. Lord.
Yeah, I can taste colors, Dana. I'm on that shit as we speak.
I'm going to become one with the sun.
Yeah.
But anyway, but Angel Dusted was a made-for-TV movie like many moons ago. I think it came on NBC. And John Putch stars in it. Anybody know who John Putch is? Is this just a way far out thing?
Probably, Dana. Knowing you, it's probably way too far out there.
Okay, John Putch is the real-life son.
I'm looking up John Putch as we speak. Go ahead.
Stapleton.
Oh, from what's the name of that show?
Edith from All in the Family.
There you go.
Yes. John Putch is her real life son. And in the movie Angel Dusted, they play mother and son in that movie. And it's supposed to be based on a true story of a college student who ends up smoking a joint laced with angel dust while he's at college and flips out. Okay. And when I watched it originally, I was under the impression that he didn't know that it had angel dust in the joint. But he did, because when I watched it when I was older, he says, do you have any of that with dust? And he said, yeah, just like we did last time. And his friend gives it to him. He goes back to his dorm, lights it up, starts smoking it, and things get weird. And so
As they do, yeah.
basically loses his mind for much of the movie. He's in and out of mental health facilities, and it's just a nightmare for the parents and everything. So that was a movie, though, that I got from the Warner Archive collection. That eventually was the only way I could get it. And I said, Steve, you want to sit down and watch this angel dusted movie with me?
And Steve's first question was, what? Is there rape in it? No.
Well, he actually did sit down and watch it with me, but he was like, Dana, I never want to see that movie again, ever, 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 ever again.
Why not?
That's one of those big drug scare films. Remember when there was a whole bunch of drug scare films? I think I've seen about all of them. But, if I was going to take drugs, angel dust would definitely, pieces would not be.
Yeah, I don't recommend that being your first drug. Unless you want to, like,
I wouldn't want to do cocaine either. But some people have a lot of fun on cocaine, but, not me. LSD, no.
I don't think I could ever take acid. Can you imagine that? Like, I'd be afraid. I'd put Princess Puffins in the microwave or something.
Yeah, I'd be afraid years later that I'd have some kind of acid flashback or something. You know how people go for years and what they did in the 60s didn't affect them, and all of a sudden they flip out. You know, there's spiders crawling out of the walls or something like that. No, thank you. I don't want to do that. There's enough things to be frightened of in real life without adding to
Very
that.
true. Well, yeah. Having to worry about flashbacks 20 years down the road.
Let's see. Let's see what people are talking about in here. CK says Grapes of Death is Jean Roland, isn't it? I believe it is.
Jean Roland. Or however you say it in French.
However the hell you say it. J7 says Slasher Groundhog Day. I enjoyed the Happy Death Day films. Darren says Happy Death Day was fun. I even like Freaky. It was a good time to waste 90 minutes. And Dirk says Fascination is all right. Living Dead Girl is decent. John says, oh, Klaus Kinski, that crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, pretty much. Darren says Klaus Kinski was right behind said he was having an affair with Donna Wilkes behind the scenes. Jeez Louise. A few of the women said he was very hands-on. That makes it even more bizarre. I don't know if I want to think about that too much. John says, oh yeah, the entire crew of Fitzcarraldo wanted to murder him. They offered Werner Herzog to kill him for free. I think that was the clip of the movie that I saw where he was just completely going apeshit. Dark says, dirty bastard.
God.
Pretty much. Oh, believe it or not, CK never did a Yahoo auction.
No. That's hard to believe, really.
John, I think you're right. You say, I think Klaus was in the Nazi party, but he escaped and became an actor. He was very young from what I read. Darren says Dana was trying to screw everyone off.
I can imagine him trying to do that.
But I didn't know this, but Darren says the director said Craig Wasson was a nightmare on set too. CK says the killer is old man Carruthers who runs amusement park. He would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids. Hey, Little Dumplings Books. Oh, Little Dumplings Books called you IN and said, I mean, you,
Oh yeah.
Oh, correct. Something Mark says, just like the killer in New Year's Evil. John says Klaus Kinski couldn't have done a romantic comedy.
No.
Oh man,
That might be the best thing ever if he'd have tried though.
Little Dumplings Book says Klaus Kinski freaks me out, and Richard Lynch is so scary. John says he was also creepy as hell, even in Invasion USA.
Yeah.
CK says Richard Lynch got disturbingly close to my face at a con one time. He was drunk as fuck too. I think Steve may have also been at that convention, maybe.
He ripped my fucking poster when I met him. He was so drunk. Like he tore like the middle, like right down the middle of it.
Oh man, was you pissed?
No, because who was it that it was his agent? Anyway, he gave it to me for free and everything. Like so it wasn't that bad. And he was real nice. And he was, I mean, not Richard Lynch. Richard Lynch was drunk off his ass. He didn't really know where he was at.
No.
But his agent was really nice. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Gizmo, say, are you drinking pure Russian vodka? The bottle looks like Russian 98% vodka.
That's what she's drinking.
Actually, I am drinking. Little Dumplings Book said drugs are bad, man. Richard Pryor burned up from his crack pipe exploding. I'm not going to ask you to elaborate on that statement, Mark. You say acid isn't that bad. Gizmo says, hey, Dirk, just woke up from a coma here, going to go to work now. John says, starting with angel dust is like drinking Keystone Light as your first beer. It's a rough start.
That's true.
Oh.
Yeah, you never just start with angel dust, Danny. You got to work your way up somehow.
I don't ever want to take angel dust. I'm scared of shit of that stuff.
You don't want to punch through a wall and like.
I'll be breaking on through the other side like the Door song or something.
Yeah.
God. Hey, X-Ray, you say just got in. We talking rolling? We were briefly. Oh, Darren says Troy Howarth wrote a great book on Kinski. Let's see. Phantasm Matt says Dana hasn't had a sip of alcohol since that one commentary for Champagne and Billets. Oh
God, yeah.
Don't bring that up again. I was so sick. I was so sick.
That was awesome. I wish we could do that again and like work out that way.
Dana is retired from doing that. I will never ever do that again.
Oh, you were fine.
And
you were just getting started. I feel like we had a couple more like that. You'd have been right as rain.
No, God. I told you, didn't I, that the next day I was going to go see my dad and my uncle because they were in town for a sale.
That makes it even better somehow. I don't know.
And I was talking on the phone with my mom, and I didn't want to tell her that I had gotten drunk the night before, and that's why I was sick. I had to say, Mom, I got to lay the phone down. I'm going to be sick at my stomach. Went and bombed it, came back. She thought I was pregnant. That's what she was scared of.
Like, no, we were just paying people to get her to take shots.
Yeah. The other thing she had thought was, well, maybe Dana got a little too much alcohol in her the night before, which unfortunately was what happened. But yes, I finally learned how to
listen.
that.
That's a good idea, though. Inadvertently, I think that Wes just gave me a great idea. We need to do
Oh shit.
a commentary with you over the Evil Dead remake.
Yeah, I mean I'll do it, but CK, if I do shots during it, it'll be very minimal. I'm not gonna go crazy because
That'd be great.
it's gonna Angel doesn't come on a live stream with me. Ooh man, I don't know what would happen if so before Uncle Bill goes to sleep on me here, I've got 3 more of these to talk about. But this,
Oh shit, Dana.
I'll try to make it quick.
All right.
Sunday Mark says Dana take some gummies for that commentary instead. No, I don't think Dana's going to be doing any gummies either. I took one and it kind of freaked me out, and I don't.
Wait a minute. What happened? I got to hear this story.
You ain't heard the story about me taking the
I don't think so.
gummy? All right. So you heard what Steve did the first time he took the gummies, right?
No, but I'm
Holy shit.
dying. I'm dying to hear this fucking story
All
now.
right, I'll tell both stories. Okay. So the first time Steve took the gummies, he got these Delta 8 gummies in. Okay. And instead of just taking one like it told him to in the directions, he decided he's going to take 2. Never took gummies ever. I think he has smoked pot before in his youth, but he had never like taken these gummies. So he took one. He didn't take 2 at the same time. He took one. He waited a while. He didn't feel any effects, so he thought, I'll pop another one.
That's a rookie mistake right there.
Yes,
Dana.
that was a mistake because we found out later it takes a while for it to kick in.
Yep.
So when it kicked in, and I had no clue that he had taken 2. I thought he had taken 1. He started laughing like you would not believe. And I was in the kitchen and I walked into the window. He was laughing, and then he said, "This movie's been on for 3 hours." And I said, "What?" And I said, "How many of those did you take?" "I took 2 of them." I said, "Steve, you are not supposed to take 2 of them."
Steve was tripping balls for sure.
He definitely was. And he said, "This movie won't stop. It's, it won't be over." It was kind of like, what was that drunken commentary you guys did that one time a long time ago when you were drunk off your ass? And
Twilight. That was probably the drunkest.
It won't end. Why won't this thing end?
That had to be Twilight.
So that was kind of what Steve was doing, only he was on gummies. He wasn't on alcohol. And so I was like, "Steve, there wasn't any talking sense to him. I don't even know why I talked to him. He was gone. And I have never seen the man squeeze his eyes together so tightly before in my life. He was just,
you should have filmed this thing. This has been amazing.
I thought I would have and played it back for him. And then I got the idea, well, maybe if I give him some caffeine, I didn't know what to do. Like he was losing his shit. I thought, well, maybe if I give him some Coke with caffeine in it, that it'll sober him up a little.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. He's just got to ride that out.
So I give him a Coke and I say, "Here, drink some of this, Steve. Drink a little bit of it." And he said, "Come and get this Coke. I can't hold on to it." And so I come and got the Coke. I took it out of his hands. I put a cap on it, put it back in the refrigerator. So after he laughs his ass off for, it seemed like an hour, he finally decided he's just going to go to bed. Okay. So he's laughing all the way into the bathroom. He decides he's going to try to brush his teeth. I freaking thought I was going to have to brush his teeth for him because he's standing there. I don't know how in the hell he got the toothpaste on the toothbrush. Going, like to say it, but it's like it
Uh,
was like a mentally disabled person trying to brush their teeth. He had toothpaste all over his mouth. It was dripping from his mouth. He could not hold the toothbrush on his teeth. And I finally said, Steve, do you want me to brush your teeth for you? No. So he finally got through that. And I said, you need to go to bed.
oh God.
So he finally laid down and he laughed for a while. And he went out of it. And I just thought, good, you sleep it off.
Oh.
So that was the story of Steve taking 2 gummies at one time. Now, when I took them, I only took one, and I split it in half, like they told you to if you're a first timer.
Yeah.
I took half of it, and I waited about 45 minutes, and I took the other half. When that shit kicked in, I felt so weird. And, everybody tells me, well, that's how you're supposed, that's how you're supposed to feel on drugs. Dana. So
That's a good point.
talking to a person that didn't start drinking alcohol until they were in their 30s, and I had never taken any kind of drugs, anything that wasn't prescribed to me or an over-the-counter thing. Okay, so this was a new thing for me. So I was sitting on the couch when it kicked in and I got thirsty. And I thought, well, I'm going to get up and surely to goodness I can make it to the refrigerator in the kitchen and get me something to drink.
Was it like that scene in Nightmare on Elm Street where the stairs turn in?
It kind of was because
Goo.
I lifted up my foot and it felt like it took my foot an extra half a second to hit the floor. And I'm like, oh God, I'm never going to make it to the refrigerator. And so I was starting to feel panicky because I was like, how long is this going to last? So I was reading up, even in the state I was in, I was reading up on my phone how to get this stuff out of your freaking system quicker. And so they were talking about things like splashing cold water on your face, or in some cases, you just have to sleep it off. And I'm like, what if I never get, come out of it? What if I keep, so I'm prone to panic attacks anyway. And so from that moment on, like once it wore off, I was like, I don't know that I want to do this anymore, And so people like old Curly Jaws that have smoked it and ate it and done, and
I think he's immune to. Hey, you could give him a dump truck of edibles, he'd be fine.
He told me that I needed to, if I wanted to do it again, don't do the edibles, don't do the gummies, smoke it.
Well, yeah, they always say that with edibles, it's more of like a body high, like it more affects your body.
And it takes longer. They say,
it lasts a lot longer. It's a lot more subtle too in terms of like how it comes on to you and everything. But if you smoke it, it's just like kind of there, like you pretty much immediately get high.
Oh, let's see. So I'm betting everybody was loving the story, especially the one I told about Steve. Let's see.
Just the idea of Steve on gummies makes me happy. I don't know why.
John says, "What's Steve's max gummies he's ever used?" I think 2. I think 2, and I told him never to do that again. Stuntman Mark says, if it freaked you out, then all the more reason to take some more. LOL. No, I think my days of gummies are over and done. Phantasm Matt says, Delta 8 had me off my rocker quite a few times. LOL. Well, believe it or not, old Curly Jaw said he took a whole bunch of gummies early on when he was doing these things, and then went to the Waffle House, and he passed out at the Waffle House.
I can completely believe that.
Oh, man. Phantasm Matt said, I would pay money to see this happen on a commentary. LOL. What, the Steve thing? I bet a lot of people would pay to see that. John says, LOL. Sounds like you turned into Brad. Marty. Yeah. Yeah. Marty was like, he did all those pills and then he's, ha 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 ha.
That's right.
I can't do it exactly like that guy, but Darren says, "You sure he didn't take magic mushrooms?" I don't think so. If Fate has a match, you say your brain was running on today's internet. Oh,
That's so great.
Stuntman Mark says, "The only thing you can do to come down quickly is take a parachute." And he says edibles are way stronger. Yeah. Sadly, I found that out too little too late. Dirk says, I ate a 10 block of white blotter one time when I was young and I didn't know my own name. I had a full identity trip, LOL. Well, what is white blotter? Is that the stuff that... Am I just dumb here, Uncle Bill? What is that?
I think it's acid. A 10 block of white blotter. I'm assuming that's like 10 different. I'm not sure if he's talking about like comes on the stamps or if he's talking about like that in the form of like little sugar cubes. Sometimes they put it on that. I don't know.
Little Dumplings book says, the first time I took a gummy, I was freaking out. Rob took me to get something to eat. I saw this guy and his outfit was the colors of hamburger. So I was happy for this guy. Oh, gosh. Hamburgers so much that he dressed like one. Turns out he just worked at Burger King. Stuntman Mark says, by the way, a parachute is a specific dose of CBD in pill form. Boy, Stuntman Mark knows way too much about this stuff. He knows.
You gotta respect his knowledge about yeah.
Oh, so Dirk says paper hits acid. Okay, so evidently that's what white blotter is. Okay, so moving on from the gummy talk, I'm gonna go to this next movie real quick here. We got totally.
Wait, I gotta hear the rest of this story real quick. John says he took some Deltas once on a mini vacation. It didn't hit me until next morning in a complimentary breakfast area. I'm curious as to like what happened next.
And he ate a bunch of like the complimentary breakfast, which is what, donuts and
it's usually like cereal and like donuts and toast and stuff like that. You know, though, I don't fuck around with cannabis, THC, any kind of like marijuana based products anymore because they're like 10 times stronger than that shit was back in the day when I was actually smoking weed, which would have been like
early head at one time, Uncle.
Early 2000s, yeah.
Really? So what was that? Speaking of that, and I'm not saying you acted like you were on pot there, but you know the old Christmas video that CK put up on, I don't know if it's still up on the Deadpit page on YouTube or not, but I don't know what year that was. I probably have to ask CK.
Early Christmas video.
Yeah, it was like, it was probably done before y'all were doing the Deadpit show.
Oh, Lord, no. No, I wasn't using anything around that time.
But, so anyway, moving on is Night School, which this is a Warner Archive Collection Blu-ray. Have you seen this one, Uncle Bill?
Oh, God. I think this might be one that... Is that Kino Lorber? Is that where you got that from? Because I think I own that.
This one is the Warner Archive Collection.
Oh, okay. Man, I don't have that one. No, I don't think I've seen that.
Okay. So this has Rachel Ward in it. I love Rachel Ward in horror movies. I like her in this, and I like her in The Final Terror, which I did a watch along for not very long ago. But I absolutely hate the movie The Thornbirds. I hate her performance in The Thornbirds. Yeah, don't like that movie. My parents love that movie, but I absolutely hate it. I think that movie's ridiculous. But anyway, getting back to Night School, Rachel Ward is plays, I guess, like a graduate student at Wendell College, and she's in a relationship with a professor who he's another. Why is it all these college professors got eyes for about every girl that's going to college there? Every hot looking girl that's going there.
I think that's just
That,
the plot that they had in all those movies at the time.
is that realistic though? I mean, or is that just some trope they put in a lot of these?
No, that's pretty realistic from what I've seen. I think it's just like a power trip kind of thing, because for some reason, like teachers get off on that, and then students get off on teachers for some reason. You know what I mean? Like some sort of power trip deal.
What's that? That song by the Police, "Don't Stand Too Close to Me."
Yeah.
Isn't that what that's about?
Yeah.
Oh, there's your baby, Princess Puffin.
It's Puffins.
My mom's got a Pomeranian now.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where you going? Where you headed?
I don't know. She's looking at you like Darcy looks at me.
Yeah, it was her birthday recently, Dana. Did you see
I
that?
saw that beautiful video.
Come on. Sit down.
You know
here,
what's
she-
awful though? When I first saw the video, I didn't read all the title. And I was like, oh my gosh, did something happen to Princess Puffins? And then I was like, oh, it's a birthday tribute. Okay.
Well, that's what I was saying to him too. Like when he made that, I was like, they're gonna think she died or something the way it's set
I was
up.
like, oh, holy crap. You know. So anyway, back to night school. I like this one because I think it's not everybody might not agree with me, but I think it's a little bit of a unique way that the killer, not necessarily how they kill the victims, because it's just cutting their heads off, basically. We've seen that, been there, done that.
Oh yeah.
But the way that they display them, the way they decide to put the head, like heads end up in the bottom of a pan of soup in a restaurant. They end up in buckets, and I just thought it was creative, some of the ways that the killer would kind of hide the head, but the head would turn up eventually. Like these guys were eating stew or soup in this restaurant, and they kept getting hair in it, and come to find out, the woman who had worked at the restaurant had gotten beheaded, and it was her hair that was in the stew. So you kind of get a double whammy there. It's gross to find hair in your stew or any kind of food at a restaurant, but to find somebody's head at the bottom of a pan is extra cruel, you know. So this is another one where I guess if Uncle Bill hasn't seen it, I don't really want to give away the killer unless he wants me to do so. And if he doesn't want me to do so, I won't.
Yeah, don't do it because I want to watch it eventually. Then.
Okay. So I won't give away the killer, but the killer does dress in a motorcycle, like motorcycle leathers and a helmet. They ride around on a motorcycle, and there's a kind of, or a few red herrings in there. I think there's even like a lesbian scene in here. It's not real explicit, but you know exactly what's going on there. So it's not explicit in the same way that some of the movies that Steve has seen. And
well, what can be really?
Yeah. But anyway, he gets a little bit, there's a little kink in Steve. So,
you think that?
Yeah, I know that. I don't think that.
Yeah.
But, So anyway,
Hey,
what?
that'd be a good shirt. Category 3 and Steve.
Oh gosh, yeah. CK's gonna make it. He's working on it now. He's working on the design. I'm gonna have to get on Sammy if he keeps that barking up because he's gonna wake Steve up, and then Steve's gonna get mad at me because I'm still back here doing the stream. Hold on
Yeah.
just a second. Let me step away 1 second.
All right. So now that I've got you all alone, I think it's God damn, boys. There's a whole kennel getting ready to attack Steve. Wouldn't that be awesome if they just jumped up on the bed and started like licking Steve's head? I'd actually pay money to see that. But while I'm sitting here patiently awaiting Dana to come back, what's everybody up to at 11:20 Eastern Time? It's going. Shut the fuck up. Shut them dogs up. God damn it.
Yeah, well, I'll get blamed for it because I'm back here doing this instead of being back there policing the dogs. I bet Princess Puffins don't ever get into a barking fit, does she?
God, yeah, she barks all the time. That's the problem.
Oh, let's see. Let's see what everybody's saying here. Let's see here. Oh, the other half of John's story about it. Yeah, it was horrible spilling powdered eggs and gravy on the damn floor. I had to get my wife to make a plate. Oh man. Dirk says, thank God the good times ain't what they used to be. Sober since 2015. Good for you, Dirk.
Mm-hmm.
Stuntman Mark likes night school. Awesome. He says, because those hot young college girls are up for whatever. LOL. Evidently. Phantasm Matt says, you're going to hear Steve yelling.
15 seconds.
Well, yeah, no, I'm on vacation this week, but he's got to work. So, yeah, we definitely don't want Steve coming back here. You want to see Angry Steve, wake him up out of a dead sleep, and you will see Angry Steve.
Imagine.
CK says, shut up. Dirk says, I'm on vacation just watching a ton of shit I've never seen. Well, what I really want to do is just sit there and watch shit and not do anything. But I've had to, be cleaning on the house and stuff like that. CK says, best Rachel Ward movie is Fortress. Highly underrated one.
I'm going to have to watch that because he's been talking that movie up for a long time.
Yeah, I need to also. So, yeah, this is a decent little movie. It does have a sort of love triangle in it as well, which is why I'm including this in the extra credit version of Valentine's Day movies, or ones that you might not have even thought about watching around Valentine's Day. And I'm not going to give away the killer because Uncle Bill says don't.
Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, I don't like to ruin things for people. I've had movies ruined for me. My dad was notorious for doing that to me, and then saying, "Oh, I thought you'd already seen this movie." No, Dad, I haven't. My dad's also notorious for claiming that a movie that just came out, he saw it already. And that
awesome.
once me and Mom would argue with him about that. Okay, so the next movie is the movie, of course, that Uncle Bill and I did that watch along for not very long ago, and that's Offerings. And why do I have that on this list? Here's why. Because the guy that's doing the killing is in love with
Mm-hmm.
the main girl, Gretchen.
Because she always kind of tried to protect him, right?
Okay, I asked this when Steve and I did the commentary, and I might have asked it when Uncle Bill and I did the watch along. Who names their kid Gretchen?
It's a horrible name. I agree.
Why would you curse your child with a name like that? I mean, really.
Gretchen. You don't really ever hear that name anymore. That's a older name.
Gretchen just sounds like nails on a chalkboard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Just
It's like Gertrude or Eloise. Like, you might name that shit
maybe it was
anymore.
a family name or something. I don't know. Whatever. They promised some great aunt somewhere down the line that they would name their firstborn Gretchen.
Funniest actual name I ever heard, by the way. And then this is a real person's name. It was a woman, older woman that used to live up around where I lived. Shrildy Waldick.
Oh God, poor woman.
Shrildy
What was she married? Was that
Waldick. I think that was her maiden name, was Waldick.
wow? Jeez.
Yeah,
I believe if
that's tough.
I believe if I married a guy that his last name was Waldick, I would say, I'm not taking your last name. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it.
Well, if your first name's Shrildy, I don't know if it matters that much what your last, but yeah, that made it even worse somehow or another.
Okay. So yeah, this is a traditional 80s slasher movie. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, it's real traditional in of the fact it's an
And
exact
then,
like
and then it rips off Halloween.
yeah.
Very unsuccessfully, but it does rip off Halloween, even down to the music.
Yeah, I mean it's purposely just trying to be Halloween, except for the part that you were talking about, which is the weird kind of like obsession, love interest kind of angle. Because I guess in this one, like she never made fun of him, she never bullied him, she kind of tried to protect him when he was growing up and all that stuff. So he's obsessed with her now.
Yeah, he always loved Gretchen, and one of the last things he says at the end of the movie is, "You think he's dead?" He raises up his head and he says, "Love."
Mm-hmm.
But at that point in time, she ain't having none of it. He's killed all her friends off. He's beheaded her best friend. Yeah, so there's not going to be any love between the two of them at that point. But here's something I wanted to ask too, and I may have asked it when we did the watch along. At the beginning of the movie, when they're all kids, and they get the little boy to walk the well,
Yeah.
like the rite of passage thing. Who in the hell would ever think that was a good idea to do? I don't even think I would have thought that was a good idea when I was a kid.
No, I mean you can convince kids to do just about anything, but any kid with a little bit of sense realizes that's not a great idea. You're right.
And another thing is, what kid, even if they're meaner than shit, like these kids obviously were, and bullies, would scare a kid who's standing on the edge of a well? Why would you turn around and like that to them? There's a really good chance that that person is going to go backwards and fall in the well. So why would you do that? Of course, it's like, why ask why with these horror movies? We all know the answer to that. There's not logic in about 90% of horror movies, maybe a little bit more. There is no logic, or it's just horror movie logic.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, I try not to think too much into it because they just needed a plot device to have that happen. So
we have to get him in this well. They have to do something bad to him so he can come back and get his revenge.
exactly.
Which was something that was different if you were to compare it with Halloween, because Michael Myers, unless you watch the Rob Zombie version, Michael Myers was not bullied. in John Carpenter's original Halloween. He was just
Yeah.
a weird ass little kid who I guess heard voices or whatever. Something was wrong with him. But so this guy was bullied. I think there came a point in time where they figured, the makers of these movies figured, we've got to have, like you said, a plot device to move this
Mhm.
along. And so that's what they came up with. So I don't know how many of you guys have seen all.
I recommend that one though, honestly. Like that's
recommend it.
yeah. I mean, it's awful, but like it's hilarious to see like how much they tried to rip off Halloween.
Yeah. Steve brings that up, and that's another one that he never wants to watch again.
I'd actually like to watch it again at some point. I think it's kind of fun in a stupid way.
Little tumblers. That's with a girl named
God.
Gloria. Feel sorry for that girl.
Yeah.
Dirk says, I remember we had a chick named Anita Dick. Her parents were wrong for that. She was a big old whore, too. Oh, gosh. Okay. So, moving along to the last one, and this one might be a little bit of, you guys might think it's a weird choice, too. And I didn't really think about it till I was looking at lists of Valentine's Day horror movies that people would come up with. And that's Urban Legend.
Yeah, I actually thought about that one earlier.
And why? Because when it comes down to the reason why people are getting killed off, it has to do with relationships. Okay. And this is for me, this is before the movies, all started to copy off of each other, these types of movies. So I really like this one, but then, we got all the I Know What You Did Last Summer clones and on and on and on. And there for a while, it was just like, God, do we have to keep having these? But they knew they would make money, and so that's why they kept doing them. I know exactly why they did. But I have always loved Urban Legend. I love the idea that the killer was killing people off based on urban legends. At that point,
that might
unique.
That might be my favorite one of those movies that was like Scream, that was trying to rip off Scream. Out of any of them, I think Urban Legend was probably my favorite because it was unique in that each death was based around like one of the urban legends, and they set it up that way, and it was really cool to see how they like kind of pull all that off.
And also, we get interspersed within this movie, and some people might not like that, but I always like it because I get an aha moment when it happens. Brad Dourif is in this movie as the gas station attendant. Robert Englund is in this movie as one of the college professors who ends up kind of embroiled in the whole backstory.
Danielle Harris.
Danielle Harris is in this. And I just really, I like the way it's made. I liked the reasoning behind all the stuff. I like the killer using the urban legends to kill people within the film. And I've always been a sucker for urban legends anyway.
Yeah.
I always loved all those classic urban legends. And a lot of those were brought to the forefront in this movie. The Pop Rocks and the soda. We all remember that one. The boyfriend getting killed and scraping on the top of the car. That's another one we've all heard. The poor dog in the microwave.
Yeah.
We've all heard that one. Which that one is a little hard for me to watch, even though I know a dog's not really getting microwaved. But that guy loved his dog. And it is just so anything with animals and really young, innocent children. Even though I know they don't really get killed in the movies, it's just terrible for me to watch. So when what was it? The dog's name Hootie, wasn't it? The
Was
dog.
it Odie? That
I
makes
want
sense.
to say it was Hootie. I could be wrong though, but was that during the time period when Hootie and the Blowfish was big?
I'm assuming that was it. Yeah, late 90s.
Yeah. And what the hell happened to Jamie Blanks, by the way? He was the guy that directed this one.
I have no idea. What the one thing about that movie I never liked though was the lead actress, the redhead. I cannot remember her name.
Oh, you don't like Alicia Witt?
No, I never liked her in that movie. I thought her performance was kind of just wooden, and she just didn't seem like a good actress to me. I know she's in more stuff now. Like she's been in more stuff now than she ever was back then. But
Right.
oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tell him to be quiet.
go whip some ass, Dana.
Oh, Sammy, be quiet.
I can't wait for this. We get to hear Steve's cameo. Let's all be real quiet and listen.
Yeah, Steve will absolutely kill me if he gets woke up.
I'm kind of rooting for it, Dana.
You're rooting for Steve to get up and get mad?
Yeah, I just want to.
I get myself in enough trouble with him.
Let's see what happens.
CK says Lover's Lane looks exactly like Urban Legend. Microwave. Jeez.
God.
Yeah, well, what do you think about Rebecca Gayheart? Her performance.
I thought she did really good in this movie. She had a good string of movies around that time period too. Jawbreaker and this one. And oh god, what was the other one she was in around this time too? Scream 2. She was one of the sorority sisters in Scream 2, I'm pretty sure.
That's right. Yeah.
So she was on a roll, and she's from Kentucky too. I can't remember exactly where about in Kentucky now, but like somewhere around our area, I think. But so everybody was kind of rooting for her. And then she got on drugs and a whole bunch of stuff happened. It was real bad. And you never see her in anything anymore, really.
No, and she was a lot older, I think, than everybody, all the other young people in the movie. Jared Leto is another person that I hear a lot of people grumble about him.
I can't stand Jared Leto now, to be honest. Like, I cannot stand that guy. Did you ever see Morbius?
I did.
Oh, God.
Or at least parts of it. I did.
That guy's... I hate everything that guy's in nowadays.
CK says Rebecca Gayheart's from Knott County.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not even sure where Knott County is at.
It's like Hindman. It's around like right around our area, actually, like right around me, about 20 minutes from here.
Wow. Small world, ain't it? So I'm not going to go on and on about this. I could bring up Tara Reid, but I won't.
You talk about somebody that's really like, yeah, it's not good.
But the movie itself, I think, is a good movie and a worthy entry into that type of film that was coming out at this time. And it was original. What can you think of another movie before this one that did the thing with the urban legends, or did it in quite?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Little Dumble's book says I mentioned liking one song by Jared Leto, like one time 8 years ago, and Rob still holds it against me. Dirk, are you kidding or not? You say Tara Reid is an amazing, underrated actress.
I feel like he's probably being sarcastic.
I seen poor Tara Reid at some conventions a few years back, and bless her heart, she looked rough.
What was that band though that Jared Leto was in? Like, was it something like 5 Seconds to Mars or something like that?
I don't even know.
Mission to Mars,
Oh,
drops
that
of Mars.
Mission to Mars. That's that Brian De Palma film I covered. It's true. Stuntman Mark says, I've always liked Urban Legend. The cast is pretty stacked. All the people you mentioned, but you also have the great John Neville in it from the X-Files. That is right, Stuntman Mark. I'd forgotten about that.
30 Seconds to Mars.
30 Seconds to Mars. Okay. You know, like I'm like way behind in as far as music and stuff. Like
Jared Leto.
I must have went into a coma somewhere, you know, in the 90s or something. Like I remember the last stuff I really remember following was people like Alanis Morissette and stuff like that. She ain't done shit in how long, you know. And really, my cousin Heather got me into Alanis Morissette, believe it or not.
I'm trying to think of when I completely kind of just dropped out of music, like modern music, and I'm thinking it would have been mid 2000s to like 2010, somewhere around in there. Really wasn't anything to listen to. Like there weren't bands anymore all of a sudden. It was just like singers and pop singers and shit.
Exactly. And I guess the reason why I liked Alanis Morissette, for one thing, is because she was like that woman power stuff. You know, you're not gonna railroad over me. You know, I'm gonna tell it like it is. You can't lie about me. You know, and I don't know. I just got some kind of empowerment from her music. And then there were some other people I liked from that same time period, but they must not have made an imprint on me because I'm forgetting some of those people. But now music is just like, is it just me, or is music, and I'm talking about, there's not really any pop music or anything like that. It's all just this nonsense, I think. Is that just me, or does anybody else feel that way?
No, music is fucking awful nowadays. There's pop music. That's basically all there is, really. But it's not like there's no like rock pop music now.
Right.
That's the thing. It's all like whatever you call that, like dance music, R&B. What, I don't know what the fuck. Like what do you classify people like? I'm not even gonna be able to think of her name now. Chick with the ponytail. Why can I not think of her name? Ariana Grande. Like, who do you class? What type of music is that? Because that's basically all there is now. It's like just different people like that.
And then, as old as Steve is, like, I'm making him sound like he's 100 or something, but he'll come in and say something like, "Yeah, I like Billie Eilish. That chick's cool." I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm sorry if anybody in here likes Billie Eilish, but I just don't think she has any talent, and she just looks like some dopey ass kid. I don't know. I don't know what.
Oh, damn.
What what people see in her. I just think people have no creativity, no talent. I don't know where in the hell they are getting these people, and why people seem to like them. And I just want to tell Steve, I want to say, Steve, I think you're too old to be liking people like Billie Eilish. I mean, am I wrong to say stuff like that?
No, but you know how Steve is.
Oh.
But one of the things I will say is like music is kind of like movies nowadays. Like nobody takes chances anymore, and they reuse other songs that they know are been popular. So they'll just remix like older songs into new shit now. Mostly,
Well,
even a lot of these pop songs.
and it's not just like, I know that gangster rap or whatever you want to call it, that had a lot of just cussing and violent imagery all throughout. And I'm not putting it down. That's where these guys came from that did that kind of music. I mean, they came from these bad areas. So, yeah, their music is naturally going to be like that. But it started to seep its way into regular music, and you would see people, fuck you, bitch, or something like that. And they'd be just going, they'd be in their car and they'd just be doing. And I'm serious. When I was still riding the bus, I was listening to some song and he was singing along with it, and he was standing right behind me because he was going to get off the bus soon, and they had those doors in the middle of the bus so that you can get off. Okay, so I heard him saying, "Fuck you, bitch! I'm gonna kill your ass, bitch, bitch, bitch." bitch." And I'm like, "What the heck kind of song is he listening to? What is this?" But
I know what you mean though.
but Jesus.
Anyway, I'm gonna get off here though, because you got to deal with these dogs.
Yeah, before Steve kills my ass.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for being on here tonight. And I want to thank Uncle Bill for hanging out with me for over almost 4 hours.
That's right, man.
But I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully with the Paul Kelman, Alf Humphreys, Keith Knight tribute for anybody that's interested in that. And so this is me signing off. Gonna skedaddle on out of here for the night. And I will see everyone on the flip side. Y'all have a good night now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.